Welcome everyone to the Wizard of Radical Self-Respect. My name is Jared Mello, and I'm the Shepherd of Black Sheep. To my right here is my buddy, Shadow the Night Owl. He is the mascot and the spirit animal of the channel here. Getting a late start today. I got caught up on a couple things. I had some things I had to rearrange and adjust. Sometimes life has some unexpected curveballs. But today we're going to go over a couple things. One, there's a recording of the 911 call. Now, we got the transcript of it. I'll read some of that. It is pretty brutal, though, mind you. The other thing is I'm trying to figure out if she was taking her meds as prescribed or not, because they're talking about it again today, and I'm still unclear. Like Patrick was saying, like, okay, it looks, I thought she was, but the prosecution was saying the day before and established that he wasn't keeping track of it. So I'm like, was she? I mean, they mentioned that she was keeping records of it in a journal, but it's like, okay, you have psychosis and you've been on several benzos, but now we trust you to be keeping accurate records? I think there's just not enough information to know. She might have been. She might have been taking things as prescribed, but I don't know if it's certain yet. Hello there, Ellie and Danielle and Tim, Miss Kim. How are you all? So let me know, anyone who's been paying attention to this. Hello there, Catherine. I want to see, I'm trying to figure out if she's taken the meds as prescribed. Like the way it's, like people are talking about it, it's very confusing to me. And then other people are saying, no, it's very clear that she was taking them as prescribed. And I'm like, is it? Is it really? Like there's no toxicology reports. I just don't know. Teresa, Chatty Cathy, Julie Reagan, Wendy, how are you all? So, I'm going to read you the 911 transcript. And this is going to be fairly brutal here, by the way. So this is what was said on the 911 call. And during this 911 call, LIndsay broke down crying. So, and the public wasn't allowed to listen to this, by the way. So we only have a transcript. And the 911 call. Here's how the call played out. 911 call. Explain how she tried to commit suicide. Multiple voices. Where is she now? Stay awake. How old is she? 31 to 33. Is she awake? Yes. Is she breathing? Yeah. LIndsay, what did you do to your neck? She's talking. When? Last half hour. How far did she fall? 20 feet. Multiple voices. Is she responding normally? A little bit. Wake up. What part of the body was injured? Neck. She's breathing. LIndsay, look at me. Look at me. Are there weapons? I don't see any. Where are the kids? Multiple voices speaking. Do not move her. Open your eyes. Can someone... Okay, LIndsay, look at me. Open your eyes. I'm going to tell you how to stop the bleeding. It's not bleeding open wounds. She's in the backyard. Is there something on her neck? A knife or something? Can you put pressure on it? No. Multiple voices. LIndsay, wake up. Moaning. Put pressure on the cut. LIndsay, look at me. Say my name. She's conscious. Don't move her. Tell her to be still. Background whimpering. Sirens in the distance. I'm going to stay on the line with you. Is there a fence? Right here, right here. I need you to stay and go check on my kids. Hello? Footsteps. Guys, guys. Oh no, yelling. Oh no, yelling. Wake up. And then screaming, screaming. What is he screaming about? Crying, screaming, gasping. Oh my God, screaming, screaming. Hello, what's going on? Basement, basement. Oh my God, hello, hello. Screaming, screaming. Ah, she killed the kids. Oh my God, screaming, 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 screaming. Operator. Oh shit. Then court took a recess. That's what happened on that 911 call. So pretty brutal there, obviously. Nanny Goat is here, just in time for the brutal transcript there. Hello there, George. Hello there, Dandy. Now, what I want the flock of black sheep's help with today is, like, can we figure out if she was taking the meds as prescribed. Like, there's so many different ways people are talking about it that I'm just not sure. Like, there was meds left over. Now, did that mean that she was never, like, so for example, there was Zoloft brought back. She hadn't been subscribed or prescribed Zoloft since September. So do we know for sure that she didn't take it again? I just don't know. I really don't know. So it's confusing to me. And it's frustrating when people try to make it seem like it's so clear when it's not, though. It's not so clear to me. So this is the trial here.
No, I never met Jerry.
Should back myself up. Were these like in-person meetings, or are they like what do you call them, Zoom meetings? And
Most of the meetings were Zoom. The only in-person that I'm aware of was with Rebecca Gelata.
Rebecca Gelata. Okay, and that was because you insisted on it, right?
I thought it was warranted at that time, yeah.
Right, because you were pretty much at your wit's end with the 15-minute Zooms, and you wanted to sit down eyeball to eyeball and talk to this person, right?
I hadn't attended any prior to that. I just wanted to get clarification. I wanted to see if we could get on the same page.
All right. So now Lindsay's on Zoloft from Dr. Tufts, the psychiatrist, correct?
Correct.
And then that runs into when?
So here's the thing I'll say also. I mean, according to Patrick, she might have been taking them as prescribed. But I mean, how would he know one way or the other if he wasn't keeping track, for one? And they're going to talk about these journals here in a minute. So it's like, on one hand, you believe that she's in psychosis. And then on the other hand, you believe that, well, she's keeping accurate records while on several benzos. I don't know. I mean, is that possible? I guess, but it's not a sure thing, in my opinion.
When she goes to see Nurse Paul.
Can you clarify?
What was it?
Can you clarify what you're asking?
Yeah, what month? When was it that she saw Nurse Paul?
Maybe October, but I'm not sure.
Okay. When she saw Nurse Paul, do you remember where she saw Nurse Paul, or was it a video thing?
I don't know. I wasn't involved.
Okay. Did Nurse Paul prescribe medication to her?
A lot, if he knows.
I don't know off the top of my head.
All right. Do you recall whether or not, to your opinion, that she had any reactions to the Zoloft that she had been placed on by Dr. Tufts?
I don't know any observations that were made.
Right, so it's not guesswork, it's observations, anything you saw and observed.
Yeah, it seemed to align with her insomnia symptoms.
Now, the insomnia, inability to sleep, was that a significant problem from your observations with her?
Yeah, it was a huge problem.
And when you say huge problem, was there one point when she was on medication from Tufts that in fact she had gone 48 hours, I think, without sleep?
Yeah.
And that was disturbing to her?
Yeah, and it was just hard to function.
And how about you? Was it disturbing to you?
I just wanted her to get sleep and feel better.
Now, during that period of time, she then went and saw the next doctor, a nurse practitioner, which we talked about, which would be nurse practitioner Paul at South Shore, right?
Right.
Now, after seeing nurse practitioner Paul, if you remember, or no, did you observe, did she seem to get better or did she seem to get worse?
It would be hard to say. I think it was a week at most. So it's really hard to say in that short a time frame.
Sure. And when you say a week at most, you mean that's like she was seeing nurse practitioner Paul for about a week?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and I made a short video that I didn't upload yet about this, but when Patrick told the medical professionals she was thinking about harming herself and the kids, that's when you have to intervene and offer her inpatient treatment, no? Like, I'm shocked that they didn't do that. It makes me wonder, did Patrick not tell them that she was having thoughts about harming the kids? I'm pretty sure they have a duty to protect, especially when there's children. Now, I know with the ending her life thing, they said, well, she didn't have a plan. and that's why they didn't let her come in. But I don't know. It just seems like they dropped the ball there. But Tim, thank you very much for the super chat, Tim. Crazy case. Thanks for coming on late. My pleasure, Tim. Shadow and I are living up to the Night Owl name. Hopefully you all got to check out my interview with Christian John today. We had a good long talk. Everyone should check that out as well.
I mean, she may have only seen her once. It was very brief, and then she got reassigned somewhere, so.
And the reason, if you know, that she got reassigned somewhere would be nurse practitioner Gelada, right?
Right.
Same practice, right?
Right.
And the reason was because Paul moved on to another job, right?
Right.
So Lindsay wasn't out doctor hunting. She was referred by the nurse practitioner that was referred to you guys by your mom because Paul was leaving, right?
Yeah, she just switched doctors in the same practice.
All right. Now she sees Dr. Gelada, right?
Right.
Did Dr. Gelada, to your knowledge, put her on medication?
Yeah.
And what was the medication, if you know?
Mainly Seroquel and benzodiazepines, Ativan.
No, benzodiazepines. They're addictive, right?
Apparently.
Objection.
I'll allow it.
And a benzo would be, for example, Ativan, correct?
Correct.
Now, Seroquel, she was placed on Seroquel as well. Is that correct?
Right.
And to your
Now, Seroquel is the antipsychotic, and that's one of the meds that she said she had a negative reaction to. And one of the biggest things I didn't like was when she said she had a negative reaction to Seroquel, they increased the dose. That doesn't seem like the right thing to do to me.
observation, again, you're not a doctor, what you saw of your wife, was she affected positively or negatively by the Seroquel that she was on?
It appeared that she was affected very negatively, and she was reporting that that she was getting worse on the Seroquel.
Now, Ann, now that you're here too, I don't know if you watched this already or not, but I'm trying to figure out now, was she taking the meds as prescribed or not? I think it's possible she was, but I think my issue is, how do we know for sure? Right? There's no toxicology report during those months that I know of. I think there was a toxicology report of the day of the killing. But outside of that, you know, you have the CVS printouts, you have what she wrote in her journals, but on one hand, so if you're the defense, on one hand, we want us to believe that she's in psychosis. But then on the other hand, she's keeping accurate records while on several benzos. Is that even doable? Maybe. But I don't know. What do you think, Ann?
And do you know, did she report that to Dr. Gelada?
Yeah.
When she would consult with Dr. Gelada, prior to you actually going, do you know, were they all on video? If you know.
I believe, yeah, they were all on Zoom.
Okay. Do you have any opinion for the jury as to approximately how long these meetings on Zoom would be with the nurse practitioner?
Probably around 20 minutes.
At some point, do you recall that you went with Lindsay to see Dr. Gelada? Is that right?
Yes.
And do you remember, if you remember, when that was?
Early December.
In early December of 2022, can you tell the jury from your observations, how did Lindsay appear? How was she acting? How was she faring?
She was extremely sleep deprived and just highly anxious.
Was there a number of occasions that you would actually see her on the sofa, rocking back and forth with her head under a pillow?
Yeah.
Did you report that and other symptoms to Dr. Gelada?
Lindsay did.
So when was it, if you recall, that you went and saw Dr. Gelada with your wife, person to person?
When was it?
Yep.
Early December. I think it was December 6th.
And do you remember, you have a pretty good memory about this, do you remember what medication she was prescribed by Gelada?
Coming out of that meeting.
Yep.
Yeah, she increased the Seroquel significantly, and then she prescribed her Valium to help taper off of the benzos.
Taper off the benzos?
Yeah.
Prescribing Valium to taper off of other benzos. I mean, I guess if you're gonna say Valium is less powerful than Ativan, I guess it could be considered a stepping stone. But it's still Valium's still a benzo.
To your knowledge, did Lindsay go to doctors to seek out benzodiazepines or drugs just because she was a drug addict?
No. Lindsay, I think, wanted to. She definitely didn't want to take any more benzodiazepines, and definitely didn't want to take any more Seroquel. I think that it wasn't really a matter of trying to get off the medication; it was just trying to get on the right medication.
Okay. Let's say mid-December, what observations, if any, heading up towards Christmas, did you guys endure?
She seemed to get worse. The Seroquel was increased to 400 milligrams.
400?
Yeah. And,
By Dr. Gelada?
Yeah. And the idea behind that was it would help with sleep, but she didn't get better. She got worse.
Do you recall that at one point she went to a place called Women's and Infants
Yeah.
in Rhode Island?
Right.
Women and Infants Center for Women's Behavioral Health. Do you recall that?
Right.
Do you remember when she actually went to Women's Behavioral Health?
Sometime in mid-December. I don't know the exact date.
All right. So if I suggest to you, sir, that I have certified copies of the Women and Infants medical records indicating that on December 20th of 2022, that was the day that you dropped her off at Women. Does that refresh your memory?
Yeah.
Your Honor, I'd like to offer the certified copies of the Women and Infants hospital records.
I would object. We don't have a copy of those.
All right.
You don't have these?
Could I see everybody here?
Think she was scared.
Do you remember what you did that day?
I took Dawson skiing.
And where did you go skiing?
Wachusett.
At some point in the afternoon, did you receive a phone call?
Yeah.
Was it from Lindsay?
Yeah.
And as a result of the phone call, what did you do?
She said that you need to come pick me up, and the doctors here want to talk to you, have you come in and talk for a bit.
Okay. Did you go and talk to him?
Yeah.
Do you remember who you talked to?
I don't remember their names.
Do you remember the conversation? Did you describe or indicate what her symptoms were at that point in December 20th of 2022?
Yeah, the conversation was they didn't.
Objection.
Yes.
All right. Sustained at this time.
Did the people at Women's and Infants Facility in Rhode Island prescribe any medication to your knowledge?
I don't think so.
They provide any counseling or anything?
I think they tried to, but they felt that it wasn't the right fit for Lindsay.
Do you recall that in fact it was because of the drugs? They weren't sure what symptomology would be because of the drugs?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you recall whether or not the people at Women and Infants in Rhode Island reached out to Dr. Gelada?
Objection.
I don't think so.
Well, if he knows.
I don't think they did, no.
And was it one day or half a day that she went to Women and Infants in Rhode Island?
It was like half a day.
Half a day. So after you pick her up, you bring her home, it's now you and the kids and Lindsay, and it's days before Christmas, right?
Yeah, and her parents were there.
Why were her parents there?
They were visiting, trying to help out, and I took Dawson to watch. So they stayed home with Cora and Kellen.
Now, during that time frame in December of 22, maybe a little bit before, maybe after Thanksgiving, did your mom and dad and Lindsay's parents come to your house and try to help out with the kids?
Yeah, I think it was separately though.
Yeah, of course, it would be separate. I mean, what would they do?
Just be there, help out, play with them, to get takeout, play Scrabble.
Did Lindsay's mother and father actually stay there and sleep in the basement for
They did, yeah.
time? Were you aware personally, let me back up, you and Lindsay as husband and wife would in effect sleep in the same bedroom, is that correct?
Yeah.
There was an occasion though that she said to you about you go downstairs and then I think she ended up downstairs?
Yeah, for the purposes of her getting better sleep.
And for her purposes of getting better sleep, were you aware that on one occasion she used a gummy, a sleep aid gummy? Did you know that?
I don't recall that, but we did have them in the house.
Okay. Now, to your knowledge, was Lindsay a person that liked to smoke the weed and use the CBDs oils and all that stuff, or did she not imbibe in
I
that?
don't know. She didn't smoke.
So you had these gummies in the house, sleep aid, right?
I mean, some people might call them a sleep aid.
Okay. Heading into the holidays of 22, do you recall where you spent Christmas?
I think it was at our house. We celebrated Cora's birthday. And then I think we actually went down to Wallingford, Connecticut to be with her parents after.
Her parents?
Yeah.
Okay. And then heading into January of 23, who did she then see for doctors or nurse practitioners, if you know?
After she got back from McLean,
Yes.
she switched back to Jennifer Tufts.
Now, before she switches back to Tufts in January, on New Year's of 2022, 2023,
Like, here's the other thing. With these benzos, I mean, does anyone think she might have been abusing the benzos a little bit? I mean, how would we know one way or the other? Is one of my questions, right? Was she? Do we know one way or the other? How do we know? I mean, unless there's toxicology reports, and I imagine that if she was really doing drug-seeking behavior with benzos, she'd be blowing through the benzo prescription before it was due to be refilled. And I don't think we saw that. So, but I don't know. Like, within the confines of the time, it's like, were some of those benzos, especially if it's as needed, like, how were those benzos prescribed? Were they as needed? Were they once a day? Twice a day? I don't know.
you guys drive to Boston, go to MGH, and ultimately she turns herself into McLean Hospital, right?
Right.
Now, McLean Hospital is basically a locked ward facility, correct?
Correct.
Was she allowed to just wander around and leave the place whenever she wanted?
She couldn't leave, but
Couldn't leave.
inside she could go to different areas.
Can you tell the jury what her state of mind was as she went to McLean Hospital with her husband on New Year's 23 at that point?
She was scared. She didn't want to go. But I think it was the second time we went to the ER, and I said, you have to go.
Now at McLean Hospital, I know you visited with her, is that correct?
Yeah.
District Attorney asked you yesterday about the excellent care that she was provided with all these counselors and therapists, and you indicated that it was your understanding that she was playing with clay and coloring, right?
Right.
Can you describe to
But that's the other interesting thing about the insomnia. I mean, I haven't heard too many people have insomnia from Seroquel, have you? I mean, benzos, Ambien, trazodone, all of them, I mean, they usually help sleep. But yet, here she is complaining of insomnia. Yeah, see, this is why it's confusing to me, honestly. Like, some people are trying to make it seem like it's cut and dry. It's like, I'm not seeing that so far. I'm trying to wrap my head around this, and it's a little bit confusing to me.
The jury, what McLean was like to you as a husband visiting his wife? In other words, were there doctors, were there nurses, were there people in the hallways?
What I saw was it looked like mainly nurses. It was the tail end of COVID, so they were mostly behind this plastic covered area. And it could have been just the time of day that I visited, but people were hanging around, watching TV, playing with clay.
Do you know whether or not she saw a doctor, a psychiatrist, ultimately from McLean Hospital?
I was not aware of that. The only one I was aware of it was the doctor on the second to last or final day.
And what was that, Dr. Goodhart?
Yeah.
And did you speak to Dr. Goodhart?
I ended up calling her.
Let's call her.
I wanted to see what her evaluation was. So I gave her a call and we spoke, and she said, she's clearly depressed.
Sustained.
Okay. So you spoke to Dr. Goodhart.
Yeah.
Did Dr. Goodhart, to your knowledge, prescribe any medication?
I think she recommended medication, and then
How many medications did she recommend?
I don't know if she recommended multiple. I want to say it was Cymbalta, but she said, check with your doctor and make a decision.
So when Lindsay left, it was because she wanted to leave one day early because of Cora's birthday. Is that right?
I didn't think it was. I don't think it was one day early. I think she had a 5-day stay, which at the time was my understanding was that was pretty standard. And yeah, she did want to attend Cora's birthday.
So there's no doubt, sir, in your mind that when she was discharged from McLean, that you got these, right? McLean?
Yes.
Yeah. That when she was discharged from McLean Hospital, it was not against medical advice. The doctors gave her a bill of health and let her go with you, right?
Right.
And off of the McLean records.
Any objection?
And by the way, we skipped the scene home to what happened. I read you the 911 transcript, but that was more like the brutal part that, I don't think that's going to play as much in the end here. Now, as Anne did say, though, it can take about 7 minutes per child to strangle a child. So, I don't know. Like, again, that didn't hurt Andrea Yates, though. Andrea Yates drowned 5 children in a bathtub and got not guilty by reason of insanity in Texas. I would imagine that's much harder to get in Texas than it is in Massachusetts. Keep that in mind, too. But, I don't know. I'm torn. I'm still torn on this one.
All right, they may be admitted.
Now, when you go to the hospital and you get out of the hospital, they give you a bag and you've got medications and a little card and it says, thank you for being here, stuff like that. Did you guys get anything from McLean at all?
I don't think so.
Did you get any recommendations other than the doctor suggesting that you might want to try Cymbalta? Did they give you a script?
I don't think so.
You know what Cymbalta was?
No.
You remember Dr. Goodhart telling Lindsay to Google it?
I think that's accurate.
Cymbalta, another antidepressant, I believe.
Yeah. In fact, she Googled hundreds of times
Yeah.
medication, right?
Yeah.
So when you guys go home, and now it's January, obviously, you had the party for Cora, correct?
Yeah.
You guys had friends over, or friends that you guys knew?
Friends came to the party, which was at a place in Plymouth.
Would you agree with me that Lindsay had a number of friends from actually grammar school, through high school, through college, that she stayed in touch with over the years?
Yeah.
And you as well?
Yep.
And they're good friends, like you still would see them and you guys would do dinner and things of that nature, right?
Yeah.
Actually, one of your friends, I think it was one of your friends, it might have been one of her friends, actually named her in January or around that time frame to be godmother or take care of their child if anything bad happened to them and they were dead, right? Remember that?
My brain has been foggy for the last couple of years, but
I understand.
yeah.
Okay. In January, as time went by, do you recall that she would actually continue to take notes of her medications that she was taking, right?
That sounds like something Lindsay would do.
Kept a diary or a little log, right?
Yep.
I'm approaching you, sir, with this and asking if you can identify this.
So this is the log, the journal I was talking about. Now, do we trust this to be accurate? Right? I mean, they're going to say she has postpartum psychosis on benzos, but now are we going to trust her to keep an accurate log? I don't know.
Yes.
And when you say yes, and I'll put it on the little screen, what is it?
It's
All right, so this is the medicines. 12-8. 5 milligrams Valium, 75 milligrams Seroquel. Slept well, 9 to 5, few wake-ups. Feeling very depressed and intrusive thoughts today. All right. 12-9. 5 milligrams Valium, 100 milligrams Seroquel. Slept well. Horrible intrusive thoughts. 12-10. Half the amount of Valium, 2.5 milligrams. Double the amount of Seroquel. Horrible thoughts in the AM. 12-11. 2.5 milligrams Valium, 200 Seroquel. Slept well, horrible thoughts. Looks like horrible thoughts is a theme every day. 2.5 Valium, 200 Seroquel. Slept well, horrible thoughts, and no motivation. 2.5 Valium, 200 Seroquel. Slept well.
The dosage of medication that she took and how she's feeling.
So this is kind of like a little medical diary that she was keeping.
Yeah.
For example, here you see on that 5 milligrams Valium, 200 Seroquel.
So, like, as an example, when she dropped the Valium in half, like, did she do that on her own? Or did the doctors tell her to do that? When she increased the dosage from 75 to 100 to 200 of Seroquel, did she do that on her own? Or did the doctors tell her to do that? I don't know.
Well, slept well, horrible thoughts in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And did she at some point, I think the DA had asked you, I'm going to offer this, Your Honor, if I may.
Any objection?
No.
That may be admitted.
Thank you. There was an occasion where she told you in the presence of her mother that she was having horrible thoughts, right?
Right.
And you told us about that yesterday. And it was quite an emotional thing for her to do that, right?
Right.
And that's the point I'm making, Ellie, right? Maybe those are right. Maybe that journal's correct, but I think we also have to leave open the possibility that no, that journals could be wrong. I mean, after all, what's the defense's defense here? Only psychosis the day of the killing? Or psychosis for a couple months leading up to the killing? Which one is it? I mean, I guess it really only matters the day of. Like, that's really the day that's in question. But when you're feeling that awful and your brain is hazy and you're on benzos, isn't it possible that you mess it up a little bit? I just think it's possible.
That time frame, you continued on. You were working in the basement, right?
Yeah.
I shouldn't say basement. It was a finished place, right?
Finished basement, yeah.
And that was where you worked on a regular basis. Is that right?
Yeah.
Would that be a 40-hour week or longer?
it varied, but yeah, roughly 40 hours.
And I know it was maybe COVID, tail end of COVID, but one of the other reasons that you did that was so you could be home and help out. Is that right?
Yeah, I worked from home since 2018.
Okay.
But yeah, I built an office down there.
So you were always there.
Yeah.
Not always, but you were down there when you would work.
When I wasn't traveling, yeah, I was there.
Okay. So when would you travel? Tell us about that.
I really didn't travel actually much during COVID, just towards the end and once in November
November of what year?
2022.
November of 2022.
But before that, I traveled extensively.
But let's look at November of 2022. November of 2022 is a month before she is telling you and her mother that she was having thoughts about hurting the children, right?
Right.
It's November of 2022, and you traveled. Where did you travel to?
New York.
And how long were you there, sir?
It wouldn't be about being dishonest. It would be about being on heavy-duty medications, being severely depressed, having insomnia, having all of the symptoms that she's even on those meds for. Like, to me, it's just certainly possible that maybe, and again, maybe not purposefully, but because of everything that's going on, it doesn't get detailed properly. It doesn't write it properly, right? Again, the whole point here for the defense is she was in psychosis, especially on the day, I think it's January 24th, 2023. In psychosis, meaning not criminally responsible because she just was not fully aware or even substantially aware of what she was doing. So it's like, on one hand, are you going to be that detailed? But then on the other hand, all of a sudden, January 24th, you're in psychosis? So, like, I can see what the prosecution's point would be with that, trying to emphasize, well, all this stuff is accurate then, but then on this day it's not? I don't know.
2 nights.
And who took care of the kids?
LIndsay.
Sorry?
LIndsay took care of the kids.
Lindsay. So for 2 days, 2 nights, a month and a week or so before she killed the children, she was home with the kids for 2 days. Is that right?
Right.
Fair to say that you also had your friends that you would do brunch with on occasion, Sundays or weeknights or whenever, guys night type thing?
Yep.
And you'd be out with your friends. If she wanted to kill the kids, she certainly could have done it that time when you're out, right?
In theory.
As opposed to sending you on a 3-minute trip to CVS and a 9-minute trip to a restaurant, you were away for 2 days in November and on a number of occasions for brunch, as well as skiing, right? You're a pretty active guy.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to approach you, sir, and another one of the books that was in the kitchen cabinet, I believe. If you remember, if you ever saw this one.
I don't think so.
But is it fair to say, sir, that she had a number of books, about parenting and things like that, and this one here was pregnant.
And Bella makes a good point. I think today was the last day of Patrick's testimony. This trial apparently is supposed to be 6 weeks. So coming up, we'll have the rest of the medical experts. Now that will be interesting. And it's interesting that they did this first. I would bet you, I don't know what order the prosecution would prefer, right? Do you prefer Patrick first? Or do you prefer the last thing the jury hears is the terrible thing that happened? I don't know. The prosecution clearly chose the other way. Patrick first, followed by everything else.
See, and postpartum anxiety workbook. Did she have workbooks that you were aware of? Or work diagrams and things like that?
She had books of different sorts.
So you can't identify this as being in the kitchen, right?
I don't recall seeing that book. No.
Am I
Yeah.
anxiety?
Sure.
Thank you.
for identification. And writing.
Thank you. By the way, I'll withdraw that. I'm going to approach you, sir, with this document. Excuse me. And ask if you can identify it.
It says postpartum depression and anxiety patient information sheet.
And if you go towards the end there, does it appear to be her writing in it?
Yeah.
Okay. That off of this one?
No objection.
All right, that may be admitted.
Good 81.
Yeah, understand. Now, sir, looking at this item, it's got a bunch of flowers on the front. Appears to be a notebook. Is it your understanding that the state police went in your house and they seized all sorts of items, such as this?
Yep.
So we don't have originals that the police do, but these are
Right.
copies. Fair and accurate?
Yeah.
Is that the caption that you were referring to?
Yes.
Postpartum depression and anxiety.
Yes.
And at the end of this particular document, you would agree, sir, that it has writing?
Yeah.
And whose writing is that?
Lindsay's.
And is this like a book or notes that she would take documenting on a daily basis any effect that she had from postpartum?
It appears to be the case.
So again, like some of this, if I'm going to take these detailed notes at face value, it's like, okay, let's say at face value, they're all correct. She's taking these detailed notes. She's very in control of it. Like, where is her responsibility to try to remove herself from the situation then? Like, if she's really having those thoughts about harming the kids and herself, like, are you not then with it enough to do, like, stay with a friend or something? Anything besides be in the situation. I don't know. That sounds like a bit of a disconnect to me, right? If you're going to be this well documented, presuming that she's correct and accurate about all this, are you not able to try to get out of there? And again, even me saying that can piss people off. I know it has already, but I don't know. I feel like if you're with it enough for some of that, like where's the line? Like where's the line where all of a sudden, no, you're not with it at all anymore. Now you're so not with it, you're going to listen to a voice that says, send your 3 children to God. Like, I don't know. And to be clear, as we read last night, I described to you the different ways psychosis can look. Right? Because I don't think just because you're in psychosis doesn't mean that everyone will be able to spot from a mile away you're in psychosis. I acknowledge that. But I don't know, some of her behavior, especially if we're going to say she's correct about her detailed journal, is that an argument for or against psychosis? Do you think people are going to be making accurate journals in psychosis? I guess it's not impossible, but to me it's kind of a point not in the psychosis direction. But what do you guys think?
Your Honor, I would offer the records of Dr. Jennifer Tufts, Astor Mental Health records.
No
Oh,
objection.
all right, that may be, they may be admitted.
I'm going to have to, I think, maybe talk to the DA about this because I do have a lot of tabs and notes in this one. I know we have clean copies, right?
We have a clean copy we were planning to admit,
All right,
so that's
good,
not a problem.
okay.
So we'll enter that, and then before, we can then substitute it with a clean copy.
Thank you. Page for identification.
So yesterday the prosecution was talking to Patrick about the meds. They got him to say he wasn't keeping track of her meds. And they mentioned things like, well, in this Zoloft bottle, there was only 7 taken out of 30. And she was only given 1 prescription of Zoloft in September. So if that's accurate, she only took 7 of those tablets before not taking it ever again. And that was on January 24th, that there were still only 7. Now, there were other antidepressants that she had taken in between then, though. But again, I guess it's hard for me to know. It's like, did she detail the entire thing, her entire med routine from September through January? I don't think she did. I know we can see the records from CVS or wherever she got them filled. We can see the notes of whatever medical professional prescribed them. But do they tell you if she was actually taking them as prescribed? No. You're just taking their word for it then at that point, unless you're doing a toxicology report or a drug test or something. So it seems like to know for sure it's going to be very difficult, but you can kind of figure out, okay, she was mostly taking as prescribed. I think we can try to figure that part out, I think.
John, can I see the exhibit for the... Oh. One of the things that you had identified yesterday was the document that you obtained from CVS, is that correct?
Yes.
It sets forth all of the medications that were purchased
That's
by
good.
Lindsay, by prescription from the physicians that she had seen during that.
All right, look at this. So these are the prescribers' names. So Gelada, Tufts, we mentioned them before. Quantity, date filled, drug description. I hate this though. Okay, I know the brand names. So quintiapine is Seroquel, lorazepam is Ativan, diazepam's like an Ativan. One of them's generic though. Clozapam, that's Klonopin, I think. Or one of these is Valium too. Which one? Which one's Valium? Actually, I don't think she was on Klonopin, was she? Buspirone. So that has the dates that were filled. Amitriptyline. But this doesn't tell you if she took them as prescribed. It tells you what she got filled. Look at all this. This is interesting, though. These diazepam, 5 milligrams, 5 milligrams, 5 milligrams, 5 milligrams. Like she's only like 3, 1, 2, 8, 14. That's the quantity. Interesting. So 1/16/23 goes all the way back to September 15th, 2022. Interesting.
That period of time, correct?
Correct.
And you indicated yesterday that the police had seized a number of pill bottles, and then you also had a number of pill bottles, is that right?
Right.
And the pill bottles that you had,
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying that, right? So if she took her off the Zoloft and she only took 7 from the bottle, she did that after only 1 week of usage. But again, I don't know, like, how, if she did it properly. I mean, how do we know? Like, that could partially make sense, but I don't know. I guess she just held it for the months after. I don't know.
Paul, what are the circumstances that you had them in a bag in your car?
The reason I had them in a bag is because sometimes a provider would adjust medications. So, for example, I do remember.
So that's another good point too. Like, so if she's on Zoloft for 7 days, did the doctor tell her, okay, stop taking Zoloft after 7 days? try another medicine? Or was there a taper? I don't know. I'd like to see if she has a journal of that.
Lindsay had a prescription of Ativan, and then a few days later they wanted to increase the dosage because it wasn't effective. So what they would do is they would say, give that old prescription to your husband, he'll discard it, and then continue taking from the new prescription.
When the DA yesterday went through that there were scripts and there were pills with a 30 count, but then there's 27 and 3 were gone, but that's because she wasn't taking her medication. That's not the case. It was what you were told to do, right?
Correct. Yeah. Without that context, it paints a different picture.
Exhibit 2 would be the pills that you had turned in, I believe. Is that correct? That were in your bag, in your car?
Right.
I know you can't tell from looking at the bag.
I remembered it's Exhibit 2, though.
Okay. Wednesday, January 24th, one of the troopers located 4 medication bottles, and at some point on the 26th, at about 2:30 in the afternoon, bottles were then documented by the police. When was it, if you know, that you turned these items in to the police?
I believe it was after the event.
So here's the other thing that's confusing me. I could have sworn that we seen a toxicology report from the day of the killings that had 6 things in it. Zoloft, 3 benzos, Ambien, and Trazodone. I could have swore we saw that. And so that's confusing me now too. B showed us that video that said that, the 6 things that were in there. And again, maybe I misheard it, that was a toxicology report. Maybe they said instead, no, these were just some of the medicines that were turned into the police. Because that's a big difference. A toxicology report is extremely different than just turning medicines into police, right?
I don't remember the exact date, but I remember I told them I do have other prescriptions in my truck still, and I gave them to him.
Okay. So the police already went in with a search warrant. They already seized all the drugs that they could find in the house, in the kitchen, in the bedroom. Were there drugs in the kitchen, by the way?
Yeah.
They're all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And they seized that, right?
Yeah.
And then you, to be cooperative, told the police that you also had pills in your car, and you went to the DA's office and gave them to Attorney Sprague and the state police, right?
Right. But to be clear, those were discontinued prescriptions.
These are the ones like that she stopped.
Correct.
All right. And then you had new prescriptions, or there were new prescriptions that were prescribed to her, right?
Yes.
Now, when I met with you in the house, long after the state police had gone and finished their search,
Yeah.
you recall that we went up to the bedroom and I removed this from the nightstand right next to the bed.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what that is? What is this? Is it a drawer, obviously?
That's the drawer that goes into the nightstand.
And inside the drawer, sir, do you...
But there's the other thing they had mentioned too, that she was only on 3 to 4 at a time, but sometimes only 2. So I would like to see those records as well. Maybe these doctors, Dr. Jennifer Tufts and Gelada, they will have the records and they'll say, okay, from this time, this is what she was on. From this time and this time, this is what she was supposed to be on, right? Because, yeah, if she kept the medicines and she had stopped them from before, yeah, that explains that. But what I want to see is a toxicology report from the day of the killings. If someone can find that, I'm going to look for it. I thought I saw one. But again, how do we know it's accurate?
recall that there were a number of items that I see, Trazodone, Lindsay Clancy, prescribed on January 5, 23. Creatinine, January. Creatinine, 100 milligrams, prescribed for Lindsay Clancy, December 21st. Lorazepam, they're all empty too, right?
Yeah.
Because these are what she shot down with that lemonade or water or whatever was in the cup that she ground up these pills, right? Lamotrigine, prescribed to Lindsay Clancy, December 16th of 22. Mirtazapine, prescribed to Lindsay Clancy, January 23. Those are in this drawer, and they were all empty, right?
Right.
You observed that, right? There's something else that was in the drawer. Do you recognize that?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's her Apple Watch.
Her Apple Watch. This is the Apple Watch that apparently the police used to go up the stairs, downstairs, heart rate, things of that nature, right?
Yep.
They never even seized it, did they? They left it in the drawer, right?
Apparently.
So, what is this item, sir? If you can identify that for us.
It's a face mask for sleeping.
To sleep?
Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned something, I think, about pillow spray. What is that?
She bought some pillow spray. It apparently helps you sleep.
And did you see her using that on a regular basis?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, she did.
And so part of the issue I'm having here is part of the defense's opening was SSRIs made the bipolar worse. Things like Zoloft. Things like, what was the other one she was on? Cymbalta? Was that the other one? There was another one. But was she taking them at the end? I mean, at the day of the killing, was she taking those? I want to know exactly what she was taking at the end.
Your Honor, I would offer the draw.
I could just see,
Yeah.
I think you.
And I think there's a watch on the side there.
And I guess the doctors, they'll tell us officially, I hope, what she was officially prescribed come January 24th. That would be interesting, right? Because imagine this. Imagine if there is no SSRIs at the end there that she was prescribed. It's just the benzos and maybe Ambien. I don't know. But again, like I'm shooting in the dark here because I don't know. I'm actually getting annoyed that they're not breaking it down the way I would like it, selfishly. Like now maybe I want to see what the doctors say specifically about what was happening at the end. I want to see specifically if there was a toxicology report.
Oh.
No objection.
Okay. Do you want to put that in as one exhibit? Okay.
Now, in reference to the Apple Watch, sir, how many Apple Watches did she have? If you
Just
know?
one.
Just one. It's the only one she had. The police never seized it, right?
Correct.
And the drugs that were in the drawer, the empty drugs and the pill bottles from January and December 22, 23, the police never seized them, did they?
No.
I'm showing you an item, sir. It's like a little green vase. Have you ever seen that before?
Yeah.
Can you tell the jury what it is?
Objection. We could go to sidebar.
Yeah, can I see counsel sidebar, please?
To your knowledge, sir, was she advised by nurse practitioner Tufts to keep a nighttime dump diary of all of her thoughts and write them down so that she had something that she could refer to?
Not that I'm aware of.
You ever see her writing notes in a diary or like a thing with dates on it, November 23rd, for example, things of that nature?
I knew she kept notes, but I didn't see her doing it.
I'm going to show you this document, item. that appears to be her handwriting.
Yeah.
And does that contain indication as to her state of mind, particular date or dates thereafter?
Yeah.
Just take a look at the other pages just to make sure that they're all her handwriting.
Yeah.
You want to write one off of this?
Call.
Can I see it, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it from the state police, so it's assume you guys have it.
No objection.
Okay, that may be admitted.
Page 3.
I'm going to show you another document, Sarah. It appears to be a document. Do you recognize her handwriting? That document with dates, September 29th through January 22.
Yes.
And does that appear to, can you tell us what that appears to be, sir, if you know?
Looks like a schedule for Callan.
And the schedule for Callan, that would be, what, like when he's eating or sleeping or something like that?
Yeah, and naps. Yeah.
So for example, where it says September 29th, there it is, 22, and then it makes reference to Callan, last fed with a time frame, and then there's a bunch of pages like that that go forward on those dates. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Put him down for a nap, 9:35 with a smiley face, things like that, right?
Right.
Is this typical for LIndsay that she would document these things as a new mother?
Yeah.
Was she being controlling, in your opinion, of her child and of you by doing this schedule?
No, I found it helpful.
For this, Your Honor, I don't think there's any.
Any objection?
No
All
objection.
right, that may be admitted.
One of the things, sir, that the district attorney had asked you about is the exhibits of the, I think it was the window in the bedroom. You said it was 20 feet drop to the ground.
Right.
Is that right?
Also, keep in mind, folks, she wasn't on as many at a time as you would think. Like, just because she was prescribed all of these doesn't mean she was prescribed all of them at the same time. At any given time, there was 2 to 3 to 4 she was on at any given time. Now, granted, that can still be powerful, but it's not like she was on all 12 to 13 at the same time.
This is a photograph of the same one you already introduced, but I just don't know where it is. So this is the photograph of the house. You can identify that, right?
Yeah, that's the living room window.
Okay. And the window that you're talking about, that's 20 feet up, would be on the very top of that picture, correct?
Correct.
Now, when you identified this picture, and I can't see, you see that there's some kind of an orange ball, appears to be an orange ball underneath the sill
Yeah.
to the left. And it appears to be red marks or red spots, like possibly blood above it.
Yep.
Can you tell the jurors what that little orange ball is?
Yeah, we had a woodpecker who would peck at the house and create holes. That's why I prepared some of the other sections too. And I took some foam and filled the hole.
I'd offer that, Your Honor, just continuity.
No
All
objection.
right, that may be admitted.
And that also, if I may, just the top picture, I believe is also, see where it looks like fingerprints or blood on the edge of the window on the second floor, you see that? That's from the house?
Yeah.
Excuse me, Attorney Reddy.
Yeah. Okay, I'm talking about the Hornet thing right here. And then this is, I see on this top here, okay. So you see on the top of this window here, it's not a very good picture.
All right, so there's 7 things, right? Prozac, Remeron, Wellbutrin. It's the first I heard of that. Lamityl, Seroquel, Ativan, Klonopin. According to court filings and testimony, blood samples taken from Lindsay Clancy on the evening of January 24th showed 7 prescription psychiatric medications in her system. Prosecutors have consistently maintained that most of the drug concentrations were within therapeutic expected ranges. So again, some of them can be in there from before. So there is some clozapine. So clozapine, Ativan, Seroquel, Lamictal, Wellbutrin, Remeron, and Prozac. That is a lot. I mean, clozapine and Ativan, both the benzo, Seroquel antipsychotic, Lamictal mood stabilizer, Wellbutrin, Remeron, both antidepressants, and so is Prozac. I mean, I don't know. Why they just seem to have been throwing things at her. So the blood levels of Remeron and Seroquel were at peak concentrations, consistent with having been taken about 2 hours before the blood draw. They argued this suggested those medications were taken after the children had been killed, rather than causing her actions. They emphasized there was no evidence of an overdose or toxic level of medication. The defense's position is different. They argue that Clancy had been prescribed a rapidly changing combination of psychiatric medications by multiple providers over several months. Even if the blood levels were therapeutic, the combination of medications together with severe postpartum psychosis illness contributed to psychosis and impaired her ability to appreciate the wrongfulness of her actions. So I guess I'm trying to get clear on what the defense is trying to say here. Is the defense trying to, I guess they're saying that it's the medicines that did this. But in my eyes, postpartum psychosis does not need to be induced from medications. Granted, medications, so for example, if you're bipolar and you're taking an antidepressant, you need to also be on a mood stabilizer or antipsychotic. Now, according to the last day there, the blood draw would say she was. She was on a mood stabilizer and an antipsychotic. So, but to me, folks, wouldn't you also think that postpartum psychosis doesn't need to be triggered from medicines? Can't postpartum psychosis be a thing, like regardless of medicine? Wouldn't that then be a safer defense for the defense to say she had postpartum psychosis anyway, and the medicines just made it worse? Wouldn't that be a safer defense? Tell me if I'm crazy, folks. Tell me if I'm crazy.
Underneath the hornet thing, you can see it, but in the exhibit, you can see there's like blood drops or blood smears there.
Yeah, I
That's
see it.
the first floor window that's directly underneath the second floor window, right?
Right.
Okay. Right off the region.
Any objection?
No.
They may be admitted.
5 and 86.
I'm all set, thank you, sir.
Commonwealth, redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Mr. Clancy, you were shown an email, and it's been marked as an exhibit that you sent to coworkers on January 24th, 2023 at 5:24 p.m., correct?
Yeah.
And you were asked about it coming from the Surface Pro, but your testimony was
Now remember, there's a difference between postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. Postpartum depression impacts 50 to 80% of women. Postpartum psychosis, much more rare, impacts 0.2% of women. And this is the most dangerous stat. Dr. Grande said this, that 4% of the children of a mother with postpartum psychosis is murdered within the first year. So that's a 1 in 25 chance if someone has postpartum psychosis.
that it could have come from your iPhone, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, you watched footage earlier of yourself going into the CVS in Kingston at 5:32 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And you had your phone with you, correct, because you used it? And we also saw you on the 3V footage using your phone as well, correct?
Right.
So according to that toxicology report, because this is what matters, right? What was in her system that day? She had several antidepressants in her system, Seroquel and Lamictal. So in my eyes, the Lamictal and the Seroquel, that'll save the doctors, honestly. Because if you're a doctor, you would say, well, even if she was bipolar, the Seroquel and the mood stabilizer Lamictal, that's supposed to prevent the mania that an SSRI will induce in bipolar patients. So that's their CYA right there. Like, okay, well, we had her on Seroquel, we had her on Lamictal. That's supposed to stabilize the moods. Now, a different argument would be, why so many? Why so many? Like, why so many antidepressants? Like, why? And rapid shifting of them too, it sounds like if you had 3 antidepressants in your system at the day of the killing, I mean, how is that even happening? Right? Or am I crazy?
So you were clearly out of the house at 5:24 p.m., correct?
Sorry, what time did you say I was at CVS?
So you walked in at 5:32 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And you left the house. As you were leaving the house, Lindsay sent you the text about Pedialyte.
Now, granted, it also can be that there can be just lower levels of one of them, and then she was prescribed another, and then she was told to get off of that, and then prescribed another. I mean, that's possible.
Correct?
I don't know if I had left the house yet, but yeah.
But that was sent at 5:15 p.m., correct?
Right.
And how far away is the Kingston CVS?
3 minutes.
Okay. And so you leave the house, you get into your car, and you drive to CVS, correct?
Correct.
And so that should have taken 3 minutes, correct?
Yep.
So after the text that was sent at 5:15 p.m., that would have been sometime around 5:18 or 5:20 p.m. that you should have arrived at CVS, correct?
Right.
But you don't go in until 5:32 p.m., correct?
I don't know.
We could
I don't know what time I pulled in the parking lot.
I'm not asking what time you pulled into the parking lot, but is it fair to say that the video that you were shown earlier shows you entering the store at 5:32 p.m.?
Yes.
So from the time you should have been at the parking lot of CVS around 5:20 p.m. until 5:32 p.m., could you have been in your car sending this email on your iPhone?
Yeah, I just don't know if I pulled into the parking lot at 5:20.
But sometime after the text was sent from Lindsay about Pedialyte, but before 5:32 p.m., you were in your car.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, you were asked about my questions to you about going to Boston, and my questions to you were about December 3rd, not December 2nd, correct?
Correct.
Because your anniversary is December 3rd, not December 2nd, correct?
Right.
So Dawson was taken to the doctors on December 2nd, correct?
Correct.
And on December 3rd, did you have plans? Not that they were followed through, but did you have plans to go to Boston that day?
Yeah, so I can provide some clarification on that.
Sure.
So yeah, on Monday I was a little bit confused by it because we were home. But yeah, I think there was a plan prior to that, like an anniversary plan to go to Boston, but it was canceled.
Okay.
And the picture you showed was from September.
So the plans that you had to go to Boston, showing you here. Some text messages between yourself and Lindsay. And here, there's one here that says, the spa at the Omni is booked, but you're on the wait list. As a backup, I have you booked for massage at the nearby IHG for 90 minutes at 1:45. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then you later say we can get lunch and then head over. She responds, okay. And then you write that they'll let you use the gym and the pool while she's getting her massage. Is that correct?
Right.
And then you talk about plans for lunch and dinner. And so there were the plans, they just fell through, right?
Yeah, we canceled them. Yeah.
So it's not as if I made that up out of thin air. That's here in the text messages, correct?
Right. Yeah. It was just confusing because we were home. But yeah, when I left, I recollected that, and then I found the picture, and the picture was from September.
And was that from the wedding you went to?
Yeah.
If we could have the text messages marked as in specific.
Any objection? All right, that may be admitted.
87. Now, in cross-examination, you said that Lindsay always took the medications exactly as instructed. But in direct, you said you weren't always with her every time she took the pills. Is that correct?
That's correct. But the understanding was that she took it as directed.
Because she told you she did?
Yeah.
And because you trusted her to do so?
Yeah.
Okay. But you can't sit here and say definitively that she took every pill exactly as instructed every
Cymbalta is an SNRI, but the point is it's an antidepressant.
single time because you didn't watch her every time, correct?
I was not standing next to her every time she took pills.
And you were asked about the Facebook search in August 23rd, 2022. And you were asked about being on the Surface Pro and looking up the country singer who had killed himself. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. So I think that what you said when you were asked by defense counsel about whether or not you accidentally went to this site on methods of suicide, you said that could be likely, that might have happened. You're not sure, correct?
It's so subtle that I don't remember specifically, but I do remember listening to Tom T. Hall.
Okay. How often did you listen to him?
It was like for a week.
So the prosecution's trying to establish that, well, how do we know for sure she's taking the meds? And I said we can get the general idea, but unless he's watching her specifically take the meds, he's kind of taking her word for it, right? Taking her word for it. Presuming that she's writing it down correctly. And I get it, you want to trust your wife, right? But at the same time, at the end here, he took her word for it that she was safe to be around the kids. And what good was her word then? Not very good.
Okay. And so were you aware that on 8/23, August 23rd, 2022, at 9:40 a.m., someone signed into Lindsay's Facebook account on the Surface Pro?
No.
And then at 9:43 p.m. is when the Tom Hall site was accessed. Do you recall that?
Yeah.
And at 9:45 a.m. is when a person not just hit a link by accident, but actually had to click on a link to go to suicide methods. Are you aware of that?
No.
Okay. Is there any reason why you would have been going in and logging on to Lindsay's Facebook account while going on Wikipedia and looking at suicide methods all in that same 5 minutes?
By the way, Shadow wants me to remind you all to like the video because likes are free. Spank the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Come say hello to the flock of black sheep. As always, super chats, super stickers, and becoming a channel member or gifting channel memberships, great ways to support the channel. They help me pay for Shadow the Night Owl's soy-free hoodie snacks. We want to thank you very much for all of the support that we've gotten so far. We also want to tell you that, one, watch the interview I did with Christian John that I uploaded today. Dr. Salerno has been pushed back again to next week. So now it's next Friday, Dr. Salerno and Dr. Lieberman. And what else? I am very much looking forward to the doctor's testimony in this. I'll be curious how they present themselves and what they have to say for themselves. Because again, Patrick is not a medical professional. He is not going to know what psychosis is supposed to look like. He's not a mental health professional. So he's in over his head, in other words. So now someone like me, if say I'm married to Lindsay, perhaps I would have taken a different course of action. But that's because of my background. Like Patrick doesn't have that background, so we can't blame him completely or even at all for what he didn't know. Now, again, you might say, well, was it a misjudgment on his part to say that, well, I thought she was safe to be around them? Maybe. But again, in his eyes, that day was a good day. That last day, they made a snowman. Lindsay seemed great. So it kind of seems like he was blindsided that last day. And again, he's not a professional. So I think we have to understand that too.
I didn't log into Lindsay's Facebook ever. It's very possible that I looked at Tom Hall's Wikipedia page, but
At some point.
yeah.
Do you remember spending 3 minutes on the methods of suicide site, scrolling through and reading the methods of suicide site for 3 minutes?
No, I don't remember something I did for 3 minutes almost 4 years ago.
Do you remember being on that site, the methods of suicide, and clicking on a link to a bridge in Australia that people use to commit suicide?
No.
No. So in this 5 minutes or so where someone's using the Surface Pro, using Lindsay's Facebook while doing that, and then clicking on these links you don't remember, you think it might have been you?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, Bella, we saw that. Like, there's a whole list that we went over in another video about. And there's a bunch of them, right? And it starts in September and it goes all the way through to January. Most of them are Dr. Jennifer Tufts. Some of them are, I think her name is Talasso. I always forget the other person's name. And I think there's one more person that prescribes her meds. But they were just like all over the place, honestly. Like, just they kept on stop one, start another. Start one, start another. Increase this one, stop this one.
Now, you talked about Lindsay's stay at McLean Hospital. You said that that it was a locked ward. She had to stay there. Is that correct?
Correct.
But it was a voluntary commitment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You didn't file any legal paperwork to have her committed, correct?
Correct.
There was no court order making her stay there, correct?
Correct.
So if she wanted to leave and expressed to the doctors that she wanted to leave, and they didn't believe she was a danger to herself or others, she could leave, correct?
To be honest, I don't know.
Okay. Now, you stated on direct examination that you visited her 2 times during the time that she was there at McLean, right?
At least twice, yeah.
And you said those were in the evening hours, is that correct?
Yeah, afternoon, evening.
Afternoon and evening. So you weren't there during the morning and early afternoon hours when they were offering these group therapies and when she was meeting with other practitioners?
I wasn't there in the morning.
Okay. And were you there during the when the staff was checking on her every 15 minutes?
No, but she did tell me about that.
Okay. And were you aware that she was evaluated several times, and at first she had to stay on the unit, but then eventually, based on what she was telling them, she was allowed to go on the grounds with staff?
I was aware that she went on at least one walk.
Okay. And so people were seeing her and interacting with her and changing the way her stay went at McLean Hospital throughout her stay.
Yeah.
And you talked about Dr. Goodhart recommending medications. What was the medication that you said that she recommended?
I thought it was Cymbalta, but I think she ended up taking amitriptyline.
Amitriptyline's Prozac, I believe.
So
Actually, I don't know what that is. No, it's not
looking
Prozac.
here at the CVS record.
It's a tricyclic antidepressant, amitriptyline. Let's see what's lit up. I hate it when they use those names. I know them from what their brand names are, not their whatever they call that name.
That you provided. We see, I'm sorry, here we go. So we see here, Here we go. Aaliyah Goodhart, second from the bottom,
Yep.
trazodone, 50 milligrams. So you thought that Dr. Goodhart had just recommended medication when there was actually a prescription that was given by Dr. Goodhart, correct?
Right, but I believe, so there's another one as well, lorazepam. I
Yes.
believe those were prescribed while she was staying there.
And so they were filled at CVS and sent to McLean?
Possibly. I remember there was an issue where she didn't have her medications when she went to McLean, so she needed them to be brought there.
She was discharged on January 5th, correct?
Right.
Are you aware that this document from CVS says that the prescription for trazodone 50 milligrams prescribed by Dr. Aaliyah Goodhart was filled on January 5th, 2023?
Right.
Okay. And then the other prescription by Dr. Goodhart, the lorazepam, was also 1 milligram lorazepam was also filled on January 5th, 2023, correct?
Yeah.
So that's when she was discharged, not while she was staying there.
So that's 2 benzos right there, no? Lorazepam, diazepam. What's the consensus on this, chat? Benzos. What is that going to do for psychosis? What can benzos do to bipolar? I think it can go either way. I think a benzo can make you depressed. I think that could happen. Now, also, what does it do to a psychosis? Could it maybe give you the fearlessness to act out on psychosis? Maybe.
Correct.
Right, that's correct.
So Dr. Goodhart did in fact prescribe medication for LIndsay, trazodone and Ativan, and not Cymbalta, correct?
She recommended Cymbalta, but she wasn't the one who prescribed that.
And in fact, no one prescribed that, correct?
Because it ended up switching to amitriptyline.
And the amitriptyline was prescribed by Dr. Jennifer Tufts, correct?
Right.
And Dr. Tufts prescribed 5 milligrams of diazepam on January 9th, 2023, correct?
Right.
And amitriptyline on January 16th. It was 10 milligrams of amitriptyline. And that was prescribed when LIndsay said she was having some issues with depression.
I guess I just wish they would have let her get the baselines again. And that's what Patrick and her wanted. Okay, all this stuff here, let's just get back to a baseline. Because remember, what she went initially for was a generalized anxiety and worry about work. And then what they said to her was, okay, you have an adjustment disorder, generalized anxiety, and a depressed mood. But as she started taking the medicines, her symptoms got worse and worse, not better. So I wish they would have initially started her with counseling, talk therapy, go for long walks consistently. And before someone says, well, that's ridiculous, well, long walks consistently have been proven to be fairly effective for mild depression over time, just like an SSRI would. They've compared them. They've compared doing that with SSRIs. It's not a leap. But again, there's not much money in telling someone to go for a long walk. There's a little bit of money in counseling. But did anyone see, like, oh yes, here's counseling for LIndsay? No. Did I miss it? Did I miss it somewhere? I don't think I did. But where's the counseling? Where's the talk therapy? Why is that just skipped? I don't like it. I don't like it.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So she went to McLean Hospital and she was weaned off the Seroquel, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
And all the medications that she had taken prior to going to McLean, she was no longer on. Those were gone, correct? Once she'd been in McLean.
I don't know if it was, I'm not sure. I don't know if it was all of them.
Well, did you have conversations with your wife about what she was taking? I mean, were you aware that she was only on only prescribed trazodone, and Ativan when she left McLean, and then amitriptyline was only added on the 16th? So just those 3 medications?
Yeah, but I thought she was taking trazodone before McLean.
Right, so she had been prescribed it before and stopped taking it, correct?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, even without this horrible ending, overall, they seem a little too quick to prescribe some of these things. Now, granted, benzos are considered a drug of abuse, by the way. So if anything, I would have thought they were a little more hesitant, but they didn't really seem that hesitant in this case. But I just would have liked to see them get back to baseline. Like, once you're like writing script after script after script, changing med, I don't like that very much. You can lose yourself in that, I think. Like, and I think that's a little bit of what it sounds like happened to LIndsay. She lost herself. She lost herself in all these meds. Because these meds, I've been on some of them, by the way. They're very powerful. Like, just because they're legal, don't let that fool you. And just because a psychiatrist can write a prescription, don't let that fool you either. They're very powerful. Seroquel is very powerful. These antidepressants are very powerful. Benzos are very powerful. And that can't be forgotten. So I would have liked to see her get back to a baseline. Because once you lose yourself, and say there is postpartum psychosis there underneath, I mean, losing yourself on all of these medications and their side effects is not going to be too good for anybody, let alone someone with postpartum psychosis. So, just another reason why I would have liked to seen a baseline, or at least like reducing to like 1, maybe 2 medicines at most, and one of those being some kind of mood stabilizer, I would hope. But, you know, it didn't happen. So I'll be curious what Dr. Tufts and Jalopin, is that her name? I can't remember that other person's name for the life of me. But between the two of them, I'd like to see what they say.
I don't remember. I'd have to look back on records.
So you're not sure about what she was taking and when, are you?
Not the exact dates, but I remember she was taking trazodone, and I thought she was taking it before McLean.
So the best resource of what she was prescribed and when would most likely be the doctors and the CVS records then, correct?
The CVS records is a good resource.
Okay. And you talked about the pills and how these were pills that she was no longer on, so it wasn't really a good representation of what she had taken, correct?
Correct.
But she was only prescribed Zoloft once, right? At the very beginning?
Right.
And she only took 7 of those pills, correct?
Right.
So it wasn't as if she was prescribed a higher dose or a different dose of Zoloft and was still taking that, and so that 7 pills misrepresents the Zoloft she took, right?
I believe she switched because, or she stopped because she was switched to Prozac.
Okay. And then even going forward, the Prozac, there weren't many pills taken out of that either, correct?
Yeah, eventually she stopped that as well.
Okay. So she'd take a few pills.
But Anne, you would think that a benzo would often cut down a mania and like simmer it down is what you would normally think. Now, it's possible if you abuse it, a Valium could do anything. But I don't know. I guess the Seroquel could cut down a mania in the same way. But you're saying Valium has specifically different side effects with mania? I wouldn't have thought that.
She'd have some side effects. They'd switch the medication, correct?
Yes.
And so they were trying to figure out what would work for her, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then she ends up at McLean because she's having difficulties, according to her, with the Seroquel, correct?
That was part of it, yeah.
And they wean her off of that, right?
Yep.
And then after McLean, she's only on the trazodone, the Ativan, and then on the 16th, adding in the amitriptyline, correct?
Right.
You mentioned that you went to New York in November of 2022. Defense counsel said that was a month before the children were killed, but that's actually 2 months before they were killed, correct?
It was, it was about a little more than 2 months.
And she hadn't been on the Seroquel yet, right?
I don't know exactly when she started the Seroquel.
Would December sound right?
Yeah, or end of November. Yeah.
And so when you took your trip to New York, she was having some issues, but she was doing okay, wasn't she?
She was doing much better than she was in December.
Okay. And did you also take another trip with Cora in November?
Yeah, so I did the trip to New York, and as soon as I got back, went to bed, and then the next morning left with Cora.
And was that November 4th through the 7th to San Francisco?
Yeah.
And who was taking care of Dawson and Callan while you were in San Francisco with Cora?
LIndsay.
And so during your trip to New York, and then immediately after your trip to San Francisco with Cora, were there any issues or any problems, or did anything happen while LIndsay was caring for those kids?
Nothing bad happened. She was, I would say her anxiety and depression was starting to tick up, but obviously nothing bad happened.
Okay. And it's your testimony that things started to get worse in December. Is that correct?
Correct.
But it was also your testimony that after the stay at McLean, things got better, wasn't it? And she steadily progressed throughout January, getting better, right?
Definitely, yeah.
And on January 24th, 2023, you testified that that was one of her best days.
Yeah.
You were asked about the Apple Watch. The police didn't collect the Apple Watch, right? They did collect her phone, correct? You identified it earlier, right?
Correct, yeah.
And her Apple Watch was linked to her phone, was it not?
It probably was, yeah.
You were also asked about the drop from the second floor window. Were you aware that the measurement from the windowsill to the ground was actually 12 feet?
I've never measured it, but yeah, I believe what you're saying.
And looking for one of the exhibits from Defense Counsel. It's the, yes. Exhibit 84, this was the packet here that Defense Counsel was going through with you, where you said this is LIndsay writing Callan's schedule, is that right?
Right.
But this was also LIndsay sending notes back and forth between herself and Elaine, is that correct?
Possibly.
And there's different writing here, correct? You want to look at it?
Yeah.
For example, this first page after the cover, we have writing here that you said was LIndsay's, correct?
It looks like it, yeah.
And then down here, there's a note that's in different handwriting, correct?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. So were you aware?
Oh, what do we have here? Says Shadow. Nanny Goat, thank you very much for the super chat, Nanny Goat, from the land down under. He's doing a great job remembering so much. I have a hard time remembering what I did yesterday. Yeah, I think Patrick is doing a good job, especially considering the haze that he said he's been in for the last several years. And I mean, can you imagine the haze that he's in the last several years after what happened? It's got to kind of feel like a nightmare to him, right? Like, okay, you had 3 kids with this woman, and then this woman killed all 3 of them. Killed all 3 of your kids. I mean, regardless of the verdict of this, that's something that changes you forever. Right? And clear, the same will be true of LIndsay, whether she's found guilty or not guilty by reason of insanity or whatever. It's still bad either way. So, I give him credit, right? Like I said, the only thing I think, and I only can say this because I guess I shouldn't even say it, but like what I would have done in his situation would have been a little different. But from his level of expertise, he didn't really do anything wrong. Now, if it were me, like I said, I would have tried to get more inpatient treatment for her, or maybe just try to get her out of the situation while she was having those intrusive thoughts. But again, it's tricky when on that last day, she seemed okay. She seemed okay. She made the snowman. I can't stress how tricky that is, especially when you're looking at it from his shoes and you have hope. Like, oh my goodness, like maybe we've turned a corner here. And I have hope now. Like, are you going to be the husband in that situation that thinks, uh-oh, I'm actually scared because I know that often someone, when they've made a decision to do something bad, they can feel at peace and look to be at peace. Now, you're probably not going to think that if you're him. You're going to be more inclined to think, oh my goodness, we're back to normal, is what you're hoping, right? They're back to normal where this is good. But of course, no. Of course, no, that's not what happened. So, again, like a part of me would think too, you have to recognize how bad it is. And for some of those months there, I don't know, I try to put myself in his shoes. What would I think if the mother of my 3 children said, I'm thinking of harming myself and the kids? Well, I'll say this now. Now that this case has happened, no one would ever think of it the same way again, now would they? This is going to color how everyone sees it, if they know of the case. It's got to be kind of heartbreaking, though, too. Like, oh, the mother of my children wants to harm her kids. And yeah, it can be postpartum psychosis or something. But did that make it better? Probably not. Probably not. Like, still going to hurt. But to his credit, he doesn't seem vindictive at all in this. He doesn't seem to have any malice towards her. He seems to be on his side. He seems to want the best outcome for her. I mean, as good as the best outcome can be in the situation, right? What's the best outcome for Lindsay in this situation? She's in a wheelchair for life in a mental hospital. Not much of a consolation prize. But thank you very much, Nanny Goat. Shadow and I appreciate it.
That Lindsay was using this notebook to communicate back and forth with the nanny about Callan's care.
She had different notebooks. She always had a notebook that she would leave for the babysitter, or for me.
And so, for example, on Tuesday, September 4th, she wrote, last fed at 6 a.m., give him a bottle whenever he wakes up. He likes it very warm. He's been resisting the bottle. If he won't drink it, after 45 minutes of trying, please text me to let me know. Put down for next nap 1 hour after he wakes. Try to put down drowsy but awake. But if he cries, pick him up and rock, bounce, or hold him until asleep, then put down. He usually sleeps 45 minutes, but let him sleep as long as he wants. These are very detailed notes that Lindsay is sending to the nanny, correct?
Yeah.
And then she also wrote, if you have time, wash and cut up veggies, sweet potatoes, 1-inch cubes peeled, broccoli, small pieces, peppers, 1-inch pieces, plastic Ziploc bags to put them in. Next bottle 2.5 hours after the first bottle, correct?
I believe what you're reading, yeah.
So very particular about what she wanted the nanny to do, how she wanted her to do it, and when to feed Callan, when to put him down for a nap, all of those things. Very particular, correct?
Sounds like it, yeah.
Again, Thursday, September 29th, 2022. Callan last fed at 8:45. Please put him down for a nap at 9:35. We will be home from gymnastics at 11:45. Clean clothes and dryer if you get to it. So again, very specific times for putting him down and when to get up and asking her to do additional work like laundry and things like that, correct?
Yeah.
Again, October 6th, 8 at 8:15, fell asleep at 8:40. Changing table is now in the bathroom. If he wakes before 9:40, give him 15 minutes to settle himself back to sleep. I'm hoping he will sleep till 10:15. If he is still asleep at 10:40, wake him. Feeding at 11 a.m. First try bottle. If he doesn't take it after 15 minutes, make oatmeal. 2 tablespoons of oatmeal. Make thin with breast milk. Can heat for 5 to 10 seconds. Again, very specific directions on what she wants done and how she wants Callan cared for, correct?
Yeah.
And throughout this notebook, it's more of the same, correct? Or have you even seen that?
I haven't seen it, yeah.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
So which nanny was that?
That would have been Elaine Rossi.
And Elaine Rossi, how long was she the nanny for you guys?
So basically, the prosecution's saying, like, see, I got all these detailed notes that she had for the nanny. So what are your thoughts on that part, chat? Do you think... Because again, you have to overlay it on the psychosis backdrop, right? So does any of the detailed messages for the nanny, does that make you see anything any differently? Or no, she can still be in psychosis and struggling and still be able to be crystal clear about her journals and her medicine and the notes for the nanny. Which do you think? And again, this is where I don't know the limits of psychosis. I know psychosis looks a little bit different in everyone. I know there's different versions of psychosis. But I'd also want to be clear on the defense. Is it just that one day they're claiming psychosis, or are they claiming the group of time? In terms of her defense, it really only matters that one day. But what are your thoughts on this? Like, what are the limits of someone in psychosis? I don't know. I really don't know how detailed and clear you can be in psychosis. I think it can go either way. But what do you think?
A month or two. Yeah, probably 2 months.
And then she just needed more hours and moved on, and Lindsay was home, so.
Yeah, I think she preferred more hours. We couldn't really give it to her, and Lindsay was home anyways, so.
Okay. And as far as the records are concerned, it's fair to say that Lindsay, as a concerned mother, would give instructions to people that would be taking care of her infant?
Yeah, I would have done the same.
A lot of discussion about these prescriptions and scripts from the different doctors, and one of the things you referenced was that you believe that she was on trazodone, and if I suggest to you that there was a Dr. Izad Parayarara Kavon on November 16th of 22 that prescribed 50 milligrams of trazodone while she was on buspirone and fluoxetine. Does that refresh your memory that in November she was prescribed 50 grams of trazodone?
Yeah, I remember trazodone being like a part of the medication plan for a while.
And one of the things that you did, as we talked about, is you went to CVS and you got a list of all of them.
But psychosis stemming from what, Dana? Medication or just the hormones from the postpartum psychosis? Right, that part matters. And again, like if they're going to, like the postpartum psychosis, I think it's going to be extremely difficult for the prosecution to prove it wasn't that, right? Because there's so many unknowns with psychosis. Like, now the other part of it is, like, I imagine if this was a man not in postpartum psychosis and it was a man, it's probably going to be much harder to get that. Now, that guy on the North Carolina train, he got it. He got not guilty by reason of insanity for killing that woman on the train. But it's going to, it's up to the prosecution to determine and to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that not only like she lacks substantial capacity, not full capacity even, but substantial. That's better for the defense. It's only substantial capacity. So we'll see.
That's right.
Right.
And if I suggest to you, sir, that this is just an easy reference with different colors for different doctors of exactly what the CVS provided, does that appear to be fair and accurate of the scripts that were provided?
Yeah.
Can I see which one that is, please? No objection.
Okay, that may be admitted.
That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Well, Miss Amanda, I gave the definition of the several kinds of psychosis yesterday. Like there's the auditory kinds and the several other parts of it. And again, she fit some of them. So the point would be, how do you prove it wasn't that? So with the voices, right? How would you prove she's making it up? How could anyone prove she was making up voices, right? I don't know. I don't know how you would disprove it. I guess the angle the prosecution's trying to say is, oh, look at these detailed records, look at the notes to the nanny, look at all this, look at all that. So that proves that she's kind of making it up. But is that really proving it? I mean, again, to me, it's impossible. I think it's impossible to prove it wasn't, which also proves the converse, the opposite. It's also impossible to prove it was. But it's the prosecution's burden to prove it was, or wasn't, excuse me. And I don't think they're going to be able to do it.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. Thank you. Counsel, could I see you?
Well, that's the end here.
All morning at 9 o'clock. Thank you.
I think honestly, it's going to be impossible. How does the prosecution prove that she wasn't in psychosis? How do they prove that even just she wasn't even a little bit in psychosis? That's an uphill battle for the prosecution there, in my opinion. And considering it's in Massachusetts too, that helps her as well. Yeah, I believe that, Annie. I believe that. I have psychosis experience, and unless you know how to recognize it, you wouldn't believe it's happening. Yeah. But then the scary part is also, I mean, imagine any man now, like, how would you, like, imagine if you're the mother of your children starts acting like that? Like, how do you trust them? How would you ever trust them if they start having some of those symptoms? Like, you'd be scared as fuck, wouldn't you? Like, oh my God, I heard what happened in the Lindsay Clancy case. I don't want you around the kids anymore. And the mother might be like terrified and furious about that, maybe even. But like, once you hear those things, what else are you supposed to do? And also, she's even saying them too, right? She's not like she's hiding it. Like, she didn't hide the fact that she was having suicidal idealizations and thoughts of harming the kids. Like, you would think if she didn't want to act on it, she would hide it, right? It's also what you would think. So, again, but the other part, though, is like, it kind of seems like to me, it's like almost like she was coming in and out of psychosis a little bit. Like, a little psychosis, not psychosis, back to psychosis, not in psychosis anymore. And it was like a pendulum going back and forth. And then, unfortunately, at the very end there, the pendulum swung maybe back to psychosis. But again, how does the prosecution prove that wasn't what it was? I don't think they can. Considering the rules in Massachusetts, which we have gone over, reasonably, like criminally responsible, and they only have to be proven substantially not responsible, not completely not responsible. And considering everything we've heard, doesn't it at least seem like there's a substantial part of her that was compromised? Not even a full part, but a substantial part. It sure seems like it, right? It seems like there's something substantially off there. So, I'm beginning to think it is the defense's case to lose. That's what I'm starting to think. But Janine, what do you think? Hello there, Janine. Bella says, should have full blood panels, including hormone blood and urine levels for adrenal gland issues or thyroid issues. I'd be very curious if they did that, Bella. I hope they did. Let's see here. Dana, where's the expert on this channel? Because these are all hours and hours and hours. Like, where is it?
She just liked taking care of people. That is how Patrick Clancy described his oldest child, Cora, a 5-year-old daughter, in court today. Of course, she's no longer with us. And then he told jurors about his son, Dawson, who had just learned the very day that his life was.
Yeah, but what's the video though? Which video is it, Dana? Is it the opening statements or what she did before the murders or postpartum psychosis? Which one? All three of them are the dark-haired woman. What's the title of it? Thank you, Java. Welcome. Flock of Black Sheep should welcome you. Hello there, Dorgan, another Australian representative. This one?
Guys, oh no. Basement. She killed the kids. Courthouse, who knows the DA and the ADA very well, Joe Krowski. He is a Brockton-based, Boston-based Brockton bomber. He is Joe Krowski, attorney and counselor at law. Welcome, Joe.
Hey, glad to be here.
Thank you. She is an attorney, and she is a trial attorney at one point, and also a former prosecutor. Joe, let me start with you. We're going to dig right in here, and then we will dissect and talk about it all. But, you've got both sides here. The Commonwealth, let me just start here. In your own opinion, is this a prosecutorial overreach? Did this case have to be tried? Your friend, hope he's a friend of yours.
I mean, considering the standards in Massachusetts, and considering that you're only supposed to file charges, according to Matt Murphy, that you're 100% sure you'll get a conviction on, I don't see how you could be 100% sure you're going to get a conviction on this if you're the prosecution. There doesn't seem to be enough, considering the backstory, right? Because, I mean, it's hard. It must be hard for them to swallow. I mean, to tell me there's 3 kids killed and there's not a case here? I get it. But considering the backstory leading up to it, it's certainly not a slam dunk. That being said, I bet you there would be a lot of backlash also if there wasn't any charges. People would say, "Really? You're gonna let this just go? You're gonna let it go unchecked?" So I get why they did, I guess, but it's a tough case. It's a tough case for the prosecution.
Kevin Reddington, who you've known for 40 plus years, seems a little perturbed that this case ever went to trial.
He certainly does. And I do think it's a prosecutorial overreach. And look, I know the prosecutors prosecuting this case. I know the district attorney in this county. I have a good professional relationship with them. I just philosophically disagree.
The 911 calls aren't to the public, woman. They are sealed. I read them. If you go back to the beginning, I read the call. That's the most that we got is a transcript.
On how they view these types of cases. This is not the first case involving maternal filicide where they prosecuted it for first-degree murder. And again, it's Jennifer Sprague, very experienced, but in my opinion, is just putting the case in as if this is a standard, methodical, deliberately premeditated murder case, completely ignoring and diminishing the mental health issues that clearly were impacting the defendant in this case.
Yeah, and Joe,
And so if you're Kevin Reddington, you would say to the prosecution and to the jury, if she really had malicious intent, why would she be telling on herself? Why would she be saying she wanted to end her own life? And why would she tell on herself about the intrusive thoughts about harming the kids? Those two things don't add up. And honestly, maybe like the demonic possession part, like not to say that's what happened here, but it's a good frame of reference. Like imagine demonic possession is like a demon entering you. So like demon's not in you, I'm going to tell on myself, etc. But then the demon enters, and then all of a sudden it's a different story. I got to act out on this auditory hallucination. I think of it like that, because I think that seems like what happened. The psychosis pendulum. There 1 minute, not there the next.
just Kevin Reddington, I thought he delivered a masterful opening statement, and doesn't take more than a second to realize the guy at 74 years old, he lives, breathes, and eats the law, and he does it in a very sort of Brockton style, which is blue collar, nothing fancy, but very effective. How good an attorney is Kevin Reddington?
So Kevin's been doing this at the highest level for as long as I can remember, the gold standard in defense attorneys. And look, the prosecutor by definition is not supposed to be as emotional and as passionate as the defense attorney. They're supposed to be more cold and dispassionate, methodical. But Kevin, as you can see, has kind of a really folksy, relatable, sometimes bombastic style. He's impromptu. He's anecdotal when he's up there. He ad-libs, and it's really a contrast in styles that you've already seen, and I think you'll continue to see in this case.
Thank you, Joe. South Africa is in the house, henceforth and thusly the global phenomenon. Dr. Sarah Orek obviously has a very big brain between those ears, Columbia University trained, and still young, and conquering the world with Mavita Health. Why did you start Mavita Health, and how did you choose this field? Seems like you could have done whatever you wanted to do.
LIndsay, Clancy is a great example. This is a misunderstood psychiatric diagnosis that used to be in our diagnostic manual in the 80s and was dropped off. So this is unique and very specific diagnosis. And, I think with what we're seeing, likely postpartum psychosis, of course, I've never treated LIndsay Clancy personally, so I don't know. But really, I think these cases and so much maternal depression and just the issues that affect women uniquely because of these changes in hormones in the postpartum is exactly why I went into this field. And cases like this should never be tried, in my opinion. The UK, Australia, Canada, 21 European countries say if there's infanticide, the mother needs mental health treatment, not criminal punishment.
Could she be treated, assuming she goes?
And that will probably frustrate people because there's not going to be a male equivalent. Could you imagine them saying, this man doesn't need this, he needs mental health treatment because he did this? Not like in the animal kingdom, the lions, they kill the cubs from the other male lions. And that's stepfathers are about 100 times more likely to kill stepkids than biological parents. And could you imagine them saying, this stepdaddy doesn't need a prosecution, he needs mental health treatment? No, they would just never say it, right?
To a psychiatric hospital and was to get treatment.
Well, this is the saddest part of this case. It happens in about 1 in 1,000 births, so it doesn't happen as often as like postpartum depression, which happens with much greater frequency. About 1 in 5 or 1 in 7 women experiences that. But I have personally treated women with postpartum psychosis, and if they get the proper treatment, 98% of them will get better. And
So why couldn't they see that then? Like, why did all of these professionals blunder it? Did they not have it on the tip of their tongue? I wonder if she's experiencing postpartum psychosis and some other issues with that. Why did they never see it? Like, what the hell were they looking at?
only 4% or less of cases end in infanticide.
So, I mean, just to follow up on that, then, let's say she is sent to a psych hospital and not a prison, which personally is where I think she belongs, but my personal opinions don't matter, but I offered them up anyway because I host a show.
Here's what Shadow and I would say. Would it do anyone any good for her to be in prison versus a psych hospital? Nah, I mean, her life's over either way. A lot of the punishment has already just been... Her life already is a punishment, right? I would say that too. So would I feel any better with her in prison as opposed to a mental hospital? No. I'd be fine if she goes to a mental hospital instead. It's really just a matter of also the precedent moving forward for future cases. That's really the most important piece here. It's not about necessarily Lindsay's life now. It's about the precedent that it sets for future cases. And that is absolutely what happens in court cases, right? Supreme Court cases, they look at precedents set. In so-and-so versus so-and-so, the Commonwealth versus Clancy, we came to the conclusion that this happened. It was postpartum psychosis. And they would use that verdict in future cases going forward. Case analysis.
And I don't have to follow the rules of mainstream media anymore. So I'm telling you, I think that she should be in a psych hospital and not a prison. But Dr. Sarah Orek, and you feel free, everyone, to disagree with me. That's why we live here in America. But if she goes to a psych hospital a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, can she be properly treated? Can she fully understand what she did? Can she contribute to society? Can she become quote unquote?
But here's the other thing. Justice is for the victims' families. Is anyone in the victims' families hoping she goes to prison? I mean, where are Lindsay's parents? What do they think? Patrick clearly doesn't think that. So, that plays a part too, a little bit. Matt Murphy would argue how much it plays a part, and, either way, the kids are gone. Kids are gone no matter what happens, so that's true too.
Mentally healthy again.
I think what's really hard in this case is that without the tragedy that occurred, most of these women, more than 98%, go back to their baseline. This is not like schizophrenia. This is not like other psychotic disorders. People get better and go back to their normal lives. Now, after this tragedy, I don't know how you survived that, right? That's more of a philosophical question. But she can certainly get better from a psychiatric perspective, but certainly what happened will weigh on her. I mean, that's a prison of itself, frankly.
Just to jump in quickly, and I don't want to take Margaret's turn, but to your point, if she is acquitted.
So here's another just like a philosophical question. So postpartum, after birth, hormonal changes, etc. Now, philosophical question. What about puberty and all of the hormonal changes that happen in puberty? Men, they get pumped full of testosterone. Testosterone, that is more of a violent hormone. So it's like, would anyone, like a teenage guy that's pumped full of testosterone and hormones, would the law ever say, well, he's going through puberty right now as a hormonal change? Would they see that as no, he's not responsible because of the hormones? No, of course not, right? They would never see that. So I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here. But what do you think about that?
But she's acquitted under circumstances by lack of criminal responsibility. She will be sent to a state hospital in Massachusetts. And look, it's gotten better, but it still is sorely lacking in addressing the needs of the people that are housed there. In my mind, it's still too much of a state prison and not enough of a mental treatment facility. There's just a dearth of resources and there's the dearth of expertise. They're doing their best, but we don't have Dr. Orick there that would treat a Lindsay Clancy and give her the one-on-one attention she would need. So unfortunately, you don't just throw money at the problem, but we don't throw enough money, resources, time, effort, energy, and understanding or empathy at the problem.
And not at this problem. I mean, from the beginning, I think this is also a case of a woman without support, which is so reflective of what motherhood is like in the United States. Not family support, not the right kind of mental health support.
I would also argue, Bella, that male puberty much more dangerous on average than postpartum hormones, right? Considering it's 0.2% of women that develop postpartum psychosis, what's the percentage of men that, because of puberty and hormonal changes, become violent? Much higher than 0.2%, I would say.
I mean, I think it's an extreme version of what many mothers experience today, right? This woman is in the midst of the worst depressive episode, potentially psychosis. She's still taking care of 3 kids, cooking dinner, giving them baths. I mean, I have 3 children. I can barely take care of them right now when I'm perfectly well without support. So, you know, I think it's also reflective of a bigger issue.
I have 3 children, and without my wife, I don't know what would happen. And with my wife, we barely keep it together. You could blame me for getting 3 dogs on top of that, and that has kind of put us over the edge. But now that Fred is in a belly band to prevent his marking, maybe things will get better. Already here you see Dr. Sarah Orek is amazing. Margaret McLean, you haven't gotten a comment in yet. You got talkative Bostonians and Los Angelinos and me. Here's the issue. I mean, the ADA is doing what she can, and she is making the point that, well, number one, Lindsay Clancy was not on all these medications. She's also taken some sort of veiled and not so veiled shots at Patrick Clancy himself. I don't know the extent of the amount of testimony, and I know you have newborn grandchildren, so congrats again.
Yes, actually, testosterone and puberty can make some forms of autism much worse, actually. And a lot of hormonal changes in puberty make underlying mental health conditions worse. That's certainly been a thing.
But I'm just
watched
wondering.
it all today.
Oh, you did. So what do you think in terms of the Commonwealth up to this point versus Kevin Reddington and Lindsay Clancy?
Well, first of all, I agree with what Joe said earlier. Kevin Reddington is just a veteran attorney, and I'll start with him. I thought he handled that horrible 911 call that the jurors heard.
And part of this is like an experiment, right? I'm posing these questions to get people to think about it in different ways. Like a lot of people, because there's a lot of different ways to think about this stuff. There are some people that believe there's no such thing as free will. And there's a fair group of people that think that. And they think it's luck all of the way down. And so if you didn't believe in free will, how would then that change your thoughts on the justice system? So when I mentioned the puberty thing, I'm just kind of throwing out an example as a talking point to get the conversation going. Because, okay, yes, postpartum, certainly hormonal changes occurring. So the counterpoint would be, well, in puberty with men and girls and boys both, certainly hormonal changes then too. So it's like, where would the line be of, okay, some hormonal changes are excusable, others are not.
Today, we didn't, unless you were in the courtroom. But my understanding is, jurors were crying. Lindsay Clancy was shaking. And there's Kevin Reddington, and I think genuinely holding his client's hand and, rubbing her hand at the same time. I think he comes across as a very sympathetic man. And I think his opening statement was just very well done. So I'll get back to him, but the prosecution, she's got.
So it looks like on True Crime YouTube here, almost everyone I'm watching seems to be on Lindsay Clancy's side. I don't know. Is there anyone who thinks the prosecution should win on this? If there are, I haven't seen them yet. I mean, I've seen them comment on Facebook. I think I've seen a couple on YouTube, but mostly on Facebook. But are any creators saying she should definitely be guilty? I haven't seen that yet.
At this case, it's been assigned by Tim Cruz, who I also agree overcharged. I mean, maybe voluntary or involuntary manslaughter, or don't bring charges at all in this case. But they have 3 young victims and they are on the side of the children. So I do get that. And I think the prosecutor today did a good job focusing in on bringing Patrick through some of the testimony, like noting that she was getting much better after she got out of McLean. Lindsay seemed much better. And on the day of the tragedy, she was having one of her best days, building a snowman outside, playing with the kids. He also said he did not fear for the children's safety when she sent him out to pick up the medication at CVS and the takeout dinner. And I also think that those 2 witnesses, the one who was the witness from CVS Pharmacy, who took the phone call from Lindsay Clancy on the day of the right before the tragedy, she said, "Hey, she sounded normal to me. She wasn't slurring her words. She was able to answer my questions and explain what kind of Miralax she wanted and where it was and who would be picking it up." And the same for the 3V hostess. She described Lindsay as very, again, seeming normal and meticulous. And what I think is here is you have 2 different camps. You have the camps where I know you are, Sarah, and I may be as well, because I'm very familiar with mental illness. I have a friend who's gone through severe psychosis. So I think some of the camp that I've heard from will say this seems like, how could somebody be so meticulous in planning and act normal right before doing this to her children? And I think also showing.
So all the defense has to say is, well, actually, you can be in psychosis and have a lot of people not realize. And you can do some things right. And so then how would the prosecution prove them wrong? I don't think they can. I don't think, once they get a medical expert up there to talk about how psychosis can look, what the definition of psychosis is, what it looks like in practice, like, I don't know if they're able to show like videos of people proven to be in psychosis and how they act. I don't know if the judge would allow that. But if I'm the defense, that's the kind of witness testimony I want. And then you leave it up to the prosecution to poke holes in it and try to prove it wrong. I don't think they're going to be able to.
The exercise bands was significant today, because if you use those 3 different bands and you tie it just like Patrick described, tie it like you're tying your shoelaces, but not in the bow. It takes time and effort to do this to each individual child. And then Dawson was in another room, and I'm thinking, was he hiding? So I thought she did an excellent job telling the story and setting out the roadmap and the timeline that goes to premeditation and deliberate acts.
Yeah, well said by Margaret. And Dr. Sarah Orek, back to you. We put the cart ahead of the horse a little bit. I think there are people here who are even wondering what is.
Now, there is an example of a guy that just killed someone on YouTube, and the detectives interviewing him. And basically how he's talking is, like, and they use a compare and contrast, right? There was one of the school shooters that was trying to pretend like he was insane. It's the person that was talking about, well, is this person in the room with us now? I forget what exactly it was. But the professional said that wasn't psychosis. But they showed another one that was psychosis. And like he was just very matter-of-factly explaining what he did. Like, oh, yes, I stabbed him in the heart. And the detective was like, did you understand you did a terrible thing? And he's like, oh, yes, I did. And just like was just going very nonchalant and brutally honest about it. And they said, this is psychosis. I got to see if I can try to find that video.
postpartum depression? What is postpartum psychosis? How are they different? And how is it
Yes.
different than we always hear the term, the baby blues?
Yes.
We had Paige Bellenbaum on last night, who's a thought
great.
leader in this area.
Yep.
Explain this. I mean, what is postpartum depression versus psychosis versus the blues, etc.?
Yeah, as quickly as possible. Baby blues happens in about 85% of mothers in the first 2 weeks. And it's these fluctuating hormones that make you feel at once like, oh, I'm so happy about this baby. And oh my God, is anything going to be better again? Sort of what you describe as like these waves that happen. After 2 weeks, we start to see potentially postpartum depression. And that's when we really think that for some women, they're very sensitive to that crash in hormones that happens in the postpartum. And the symptoms are mostly depression. So it can be low mood, sadness, just not being able to function in the way that you used to. What's interesting is sometimes depression can look a little ragey. There can be anger, irritability for some women, especially cultural differences there. And postpartum psychosis is a separate entity. That is something where it has waxing and waning. And this is what may describe what happened, where she was very coherent at one point, and then you sort of wax and wane and are having psychotic episode, which is really a break from reality, which doesn't occur in depression and baby blues. People with depression and baby blues have some insight. I know what's going on. But with this break with reality, I think...
So the waxing and waning part is key. But that also makes it more terrifying, honestly, right? But then the next question also would be for Dr. Sarah or Rick here. What's the proper treatment for postpartum psychosis? But if you're the defense, that's exactly the kind of witness you want to call to the stand. The one that can talk to you about the pendulum of psychosis, waxing and waning. And then how would the prosecution prove that's not what was happening? They wouldn't be able to, in my opinion.
Hey, maybe my kids are evil and I have this voice that's telling me I've got to do something to save them. I mean, break from reality doesn't make sense. There's a description of auditory hallucinations, which can sometimes also occur. So, and that this waxing and waning is something that we see very frequently in this diagnosis. So again, it's almost a lack of education in the general population about this.
Yeah, and I know you haven't treated her, and I know that has to be sort of a disclaimer here, but
yes.
From sort of a classic textbook example of postpartum psychosis and postpartum depression, does she appear to exhibit these things with the way she was acting?
Certainly, I think the intractable insomnia is certainly something that we see. She was saying she was having auditory hallucinations and these thoughts. I think what's hard is that a lot of women, because our amygdalas grow during the pregnancy, have what's called intrusive thoughts. So when you're walking down the stairs, you feel like you may throw your baby down the stairs, and it's really very protective because what do? I actually hold my baby stronger. I make sure that I don't kind of make a misstep. But obviously she was explaining that she was having these symptoms. And I know that there's a lot of talk of the medications. I've seen the entire published list. None except one, actually two. Benzodiazepines can help with postpartum psychosis. Seroquel does as well, but at very high doses. And as we heard, I don't think she was taking all of those medications at the same time and certainly never finished a course. There was a lot of fragmentation, a lot of different providers likely not talking to one another. So what I also don't want to result from this is the psychiatric medications made her do it, because that's not what's going on here.
And isn't that what I said, right? That you don't want to make it seem like it's the medication's fault. Postpartum psychosis is underneath that. Medications can make it work, but postpartum psychosis is a different thing. So I'm glad she mentioned that.
Interesting. We'll come back and talk about that a little more. Joe Krowski, from Elise here, someone has to be on the side of the children. Your response to that comment, it's sort of chilling. I mean, they are dead. What do you say?
Look, everyone's on the side of the children, right? But we don't honor those children by punishing their mother for something that she was not capable of, and that is the actual intentional malicious killing of children that, by all accounts, she loved so much and cared for so much. We punish people in this country for actions that either they intended to do or they could control. And one of the problems in these cases, and I've done a lot of mental health cases, is the symbolism. everyone has this notion that people that are mentally ill are in straitjackets, in rubber rooms, and they're walking around in a catatonic state. They can be coherent, cogent, methodical, plan things out. On a moment's notice, things can change. I've had clients at the state hospital in Massachusetts, and there's a lack of imprecision. The brain is a very fragile and frail thing, and science is still emerging. So no one is doing this to punish the children. This woman, Miss Clancy, even if she is acquitted again, is going to regret this and what happened and mourn those children for, the rest of her life. Absolutely, unequivocally.
How to honor the children is to do more research on this, because we have
100%.
very limited research, and more resources, right? She was begging to be admitted and wouldn't be, right? Was calling hotlines and, hey, I need help. I think we really failed her, right? The state of Massachusetts, the providers, the United States.
Yeah. Is there anything, doctor, that triggers this in some women but not in others? Is there research about that?
Yeah, there is some research. So certainly if there's a family history of psychosis can sometimes be the case. I think with her, there was already a history of postpartum depression and very significant symptoms after the birth of her 2 older children, which we know actually get worse after each postpartum period. So she was already a very vulnerable because she had symptoms before, and it doesn't sound like she had really good wraparound care. She was going and getting prescriptions every couple of days because I think she was just so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Jump
Go ahead,
in.
Joe. Yeah, pop in.
To that point, what this case has that a lot don't, I'm talking about in the criminal side of things, is there's actual contemporaneous records, right, of her reaching out and expressing the homicidal and suicidal ideation prior to this event happening. Notwithstanding that, my review of the records, one of her mental health appointments was a 17-minute telehealth appointment, is my information. Imagine that, drive-by telehealth for someone that's in the throes of postpartum.
And isn't that what we said the other day? Only 17 minutes from Dr. Jennifer Tufts? That's crazy.
Depression. So this is really a referendum on the local government, the district attorney's office, the mental.
I think she had postpartum depression after the second one, Anne. I don't think it was psychosis, though.
Mental health community, everyone.
Shout out to Maui Swift, as she's in the comment section and has been here since day one. Here's the hotline number: 1833 TLC Mama, 1833 TLC Mama. If anyone out there is having any issues, either about to give birth or has just given birth. Margaret, I'm just curious. So this is day 2 now of Patrick Clancy on the witness stand. We didn't know there was going to be a cross, but after his morning testimony, there was cross today. In your opinion, what has been the Commonwealth's objective with him being on the stand over the last 2 days? What's been the purpose of talking to him?
Well, the prosecution is trying to demonstrate through Patrick that Lindsay's behavior leading up to the crimes was rational and lucid, right? They have to show that she was sane beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the burden here. So, for example, what I went through before, what she tried to bring out was, hey, she seemed like she was having a good day. Were you worried? What bothered me, though, was what were those thoughts that she was having? She was having these horrible thoughts, and they didn't really get into that. She did worry about harming her kids. So that goes to the defense rather than the prosecution, in my opinion. But again, I think by calling those 2 witnesses to the stand, CVS and 3V Restaurant, those 2 women, just for some people that don't understand the complexities of mental illness, who don't understand what Sarah is telling us about, and Joe, they really can't see how anybody, even if somebody has mental problems, mental issues, they can't understand how anybody could actually kill their kids with exercise bans. So again, the prosecution is trying to show a deliberate, methodical. The 3 crimes were committed deliberately, methodical with the exercise bands. And again, they're showing this planning, this 20-minute time frame. And then she tried to take her own life. So I agree. I think it was overcharged, and I think it will come down to the battle of the experts, right? Because Kevin Reddington's going to have to produce an expert like Sarah, who's going to have to explain that, yes, people can suddenly seem lucid like she did earlier in the day, but then all of a sudden just lose it. And hearing voices, this is your one chance, take it. It's your one window of opportunity. And so she went and did what she did to those children. I can't even say it. It's just so horrific. But that's, I think she's doing as best she can with the evidence that she has. And some people will buy into it.
Yeah, by the way, I've seen quite a few comments saying that just watching the trial is triggering a lot of people who have, and look, if we're being honest, just about everyone's got some mental health issues. There's no such thing as normal in this world. I think that's a myth. And I think it's triggering a lot of people to say, maybe I'm a little nutty. Maybe this is making me worse. I mean, everyone's got to just take care with a case like this. And this is such an unusual trial. Typically, people pile on the defendant. That's typically what happens. And it's one side versus the other. And here, it seems like people are incredibly conflicted, including yours truly here. But Kelly McClellan, back to Dr. Sarah here.
Yep.
I had from Kelly, I had a suicidal teenager and was told a 1-year wait list. I'm not even sure what an IOP.
And here's the other thing, right? Stephen King always has a quote, and he's talking about it from addiction's point of view. But he says, you never feel your sanity leaving. You only feel its return. And I can relate to that, honestly, because he would talk about that through the addiction lens of like, when you're caught in the throes of an addiction, you are kind of like losing your sanity a little bit. Now, it's a different form than a postpartum psychosis version, but I think kind of the principle is the same. You lose yourself. And when you lose yourself, you don't realize it, but you feel it when you come back to. When you come back to, you're like, holy mackerel. Like, what happened? It's kind of like someone who gets drunk. It's like you kind of lose it. And then when you're sober the next day, you're like, holy crap, what the hell happened here?
Program is the system.
Intensive outpatient program.
Okay. Intensive outpatient. I mean, this is a real problem.
Yes.
I don't want to draw myself into this. I just went to the ER a few weeks back for a very minor health scare, and it was just a debacle. It was just, I was almost embarrassed. I won't say it, to be, what, in this country at that point, how screwed up it was to just go and see a doctor, and the amount of calls I had to get on after the fact. And that's just, for a guy that's in pretty good health, just going for, make sure everything was okay. I cannot imagine what it's like for Kelly McClellan or what it was like for Lindsay Clancy. I mean, how does the system get fixed when it does appear to be unbelievably broken in so many ways?
No, that's an impossible question. We've tried to answer it at Movida Health. Mental health should be covered by your insurance. You pay premiums. Why pay out of pocket for these services? That's one. And then wait lists. We see patients within 2 days if we can. We wrap around care. We've seen women that have stepped down from inpatient units after postpartum psychosis, and we're able to wrap around them. We see them 3-4 times a week. We have family that's on. The last case we saw, the parents-in-law agreed to stay in the house at all times with our patient and the baby. The husband could still go to work, but that's the type of environment that you need. Unfortunately, hospital stays, the insurance says she's got to get out. And I suspect because she's a nurse, she's white, she's privileged, she sort of can function. She appears that she can kind of probably look pretty good and pretty healthy and have these waxing and waning moments. I think someone that's so recently been discharged from an inpatient hospital to be left sort of on her own, taking care of the kids, we just need so much more. So,
my question is, how did they all miss it? Were they not even thinking about postpartum psychosis in this case? And I'm talking about the professionals. How did Dr. Jennifer Tufts miss it? How did that other one miss it? Were they thinking, oh, it's so rare, that can't be this? And again, I'm also presuming that even if they recognized it right, would they know what to do with it? Because that's the other thing. You first have to recognize it right. You have to see it for what it is. And then once you see it for what it is, then you actually have to address it properly too.
Yeah, the mental health system is broken, but also our care system in the United States is broken. Childcare is so unaffordable that she probably couldn't even afford a nanny to help her out.
Yeah, they had a babysitter. He said they were doing okay, but I don't know that that was enough. And Joe, I'm coming to you. But I had another question for Sarah, which was on the tip of my tongue, and I just forgot it. So I'm going to go back to Joe right now, and it'll come to me. I know it will. Joe, during opening statements, Kevin Reddington, got pretty passionate and turned to the DA, who I'm unfamiliar with, and said he would kill the soul of this young woman. That's why I knew this guy was from Brockton. Kind of beautifully stated. He is really, I think, deeply upset that this is even being prosecuted. Just the look that he is giving to the DA and the looks that he is giving in court. I mean, you know him. How personally do you think he's taking all of this?
So the frontline prosecutors, right, attorneys Buckingham and Sprague, are the ones prosecuting the case. But I think he was referring to Tim Cruz, the district attorney that was actually in the courthouse watching the case. Look, those two go way, way back, and I don't think DA Cruz will take it personally, but I think it was an authentic, visceral reaction that Kevin had, and he got caught up in the moment. And certainly, those openings were not necessarily technical. There was a lot of emotion and a lot of argument put into them by both sides. But I think he's wearing his heart on his sleeve, and I think that plays well with the jury. I think that he genuinely, sincerely believes that his client is a victim in all of this too, and is being re-victimized by having to endure this prosecution. I mean, this has to be to the extent that she already was mentally ill. Can you imagine what this trial is doing to her? And one of the things, again, and this is not a personal shot, I've had many cases with these prosecutors, and I find them to have integrity and skill. But one of the things, again, that I would criticize is it's too dismissive of the suicide attempt, dismissive of the symptoms she was showing. Someone isn't necessarily going to scream from the top of the mountaintop that I'm about to kill my kids, or I'm talking to dead people, or things like that. But I think that's what makes Clancy so authentic, that she wasn't exaggerating any of the symptoms. This was real life, documented throes of mental health symptoms that she was experiencing.
I agree with you 100%. And Dr. Orrick, I remember the question I was going to ask you. When the 911 call, we're going to get to that in a second, was played in court today. We didn't hear it, but we have a transcript, and we'll go through some graphics on that. She appeared to be sobbing with her head in her hands, really weeping. And my question is, people who go through this is now 2-3 years later, if you were to talk to her today and have a conversation with her today, in your opinion, is she totally out of this sort of psychotic state? Is she fully aware of what she did? And we talked about this earlier, but I mean, that has got to be punishment enough. I'm not sure how she puts
100%.
Yeah, well,
a lot of people who survive these psychotic experiences and go back to their baseline, which at this point it's been so many years that it's likely that if she did have postpartum psychosis, there is also the possibility that she had bipolar disorder, and maybe this was mania, right? There's a lot of different kind of diagnostic options here, though postpartum psychosis is likely the one. But people describe almost some dissociation, not totally remembering. It's kind of what our brain does when we experience trauma, is we forget some things. Ask anyone who's had a traumatic incident. They sometimes have a patchy memory of it, have a hard time sort of remembering the fine details. But generally, it sounds to me like she is someone who has insight into what occurred, even though it might not be crystal clear because she was in this waxing and waning state.
So as I think about it, as I was talking about in the beginning, like the way the prosecution's trying to say the meds weren't taken properly, I don't think that part really even matters as much, as long as like it wasn't just complete abusing of the benzos. As long as that wasn't the case, the postpartum psychosis is a different thing, right? She took the meds for the most part, I think, by what they were saying, give or take. And you can argue also that all the meds changes didn't help anything either. But again, the main thing is underneath. The postpartum psychosis is not induced or triggered because of meds. It can make it worse, but it is different. What triggers the postpartum psychosis is the hormonal changes. And to the extent that medicines make those hormonal changes worse, is how the medicines contribute. So the defense needs to be focusing on, okay, yeah, established she did take the meds correctly for the most part, and she wasn't abusing the benzos, but postpartum psychosis was underneath all of that, and she was never addressed. It was never addressed what she actually was dealing with, so they never gave her the proper treatment. And then she had the waxing and the waning, the pendulum swinging, as I was calling it, with psychosis. So I said pendulum swinging. Dr. Orrick says waxing and waning, but 6 of one, half dozen of another. So that's what I would be emphasizing if I'm the defense.
Yeah. Margaret, one question, and I'm going to start to play some sound and look at these graphics. But this issue, it's she's either guilty or she's not criminally responsible.
Yeah.
How does the defense, the state has all the burden, but how does the defense prove here that she's not criminally responsible? Have they done it yet? I mean, how do we know when we get there?
Well,
I think they've kind of done it. I don't think they've done it the way I would have done it, but I think they're on their way to proving it. Long trial, after all. Maybe they're saving it all for the closing statement, too.
Well, I think that Reddington has done an excellent job through cross-examination today, showing that she was through Patrick Clancy. I thought on cross what stuck out to me was Patrick at one point described Lindsay as rocking back and forth on the sofa. And she had a bad reaction to Seroquel. She was very sleep deprived. Benzos made it worse. And then she tried Valium. She wanted to get on.
Yeah, the postpartum psychosis is underneath. Medicines could make it worse. I'd be interested to know, which medicines would indeed make it worse? Because she had said Seroquel. That's something that normally does help psychosis as an antipsychotic. But in this case, it did not. So, yeah, those meds, they don't help. Like when there's so many meds and you're not addressing the problem properly, yeah, that makes it all worse. But I wouldn't want to be blaming the meds if I'm the defense. I'd be emphasizing the meds didn't help, but the postpartum psychosis is really the issue.
A medication that would help her. So she was legitimately trying to get better, yet she was getting worse. So I think that will play into what his theory of the case, which he laid out very well through opening statements. Will ultimately, you'll need some experts to go along with it and to explain, what does sleep deprivation mean? As Sarah can explain, sleep deprivation can lead to psychosis.
Yes, alone.
I've seen that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what really stood out to me was how much she just could.
Now, for me to change my opinion, I would have to hear the doctors and whomever and the other experts start saying things like, no, I know what postpartum psychosis looks like, and this was not it. If I've heard several experts say that, then maybe I would change my mind. But this woman in the bottom right here seems to be, Dr. Orrick seems to be a postpartum psychosis expert, and she's not saying that. So, and again, it is up to the prosecution to prove beyond a reasonable doubt she was not even substantially impaired. It's not even that they have to meet the burden that she wasn't substantially impaired. Not even fully, but substantially, which is better for the defense, right? So will the prosecution be able to prove she wasn't even substantially impaired? I don't know how they're going to.
She couldn't sleep, and she was trying everything to get just to be able to sleep. And I think that ultimately she and hearing the voices. So there is a burden shifting, by the way, that goes on here. So in Massachusetts, when she first goes to court, she's presumed sane. But as soon as Kevin Reddington starts producing some evidence to the contrary, the burden shifts entirely to the Commonwealth to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she was sane at the time these acts occurred. So,
and not even just that, she has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt she wasn't even substantially impaired. Not even substantially. In other places, the burden is to prove like fully. Like that's the defense's burden. They like has to be fully impaired. But in this case, no. The defense only has to say substantially impaired. And the prosecution has to prove no, she wasn't even substantially impaired. She was completely sane. I don't think it's going to happen.
And he's just, we're still in the prosecution's case in chief. So as time goes on, and when it's his turn, his case in chief, I think the expert testimony will be doing what Sarah is explaining to us is what is sleep deprivation? Waxing and waning is a big thing. And I think when you mentioned that, Sarah, I think people don't get the concept of what waxing and waning is because they see she seemed lucid and rational on the day the crimes were committed right before they.
That's where the demon analogy comes into play. You see in The Exorcist? Where look at the little girl Reagan in The Exorcist. Was she fine sometimes? Yeah. But other times, did The Exorcist take full control? Yes, she did. Right? So that's a good example.
They were committed, but that shows you've got to show waxing and waning.
It's quite similar if you've ever seen anyone with delirium or they're in the ICU or hospitalized that all of a sudden they're like doing well and then all of a sudden aren't. It's very similar in that way.
Yeah. Definitely.
Joe Krowski, what about Jennifer Sprague and her direct exam of Patrick Clancy? I mean, here's a guy who lost his 3 children in the worst imaginable way and loses his wife. Somehow, I don't know how, but this guy got it together enough to get himself remarried. And instead of people being happy for him, they're criticizing him for not sticking with his wife through this. To me, this guy is unbelievably resilient. And here she is. She's kind of, at times, she's pointing the finger of blame toward him as well, saying, essentially, you didn't do enough. Why didn't you ring more alarm bells? And this guy is being so re-traumatized that at one point today, Tim Jansen, who I'm going to get to in a minute, who was reporting for us, thought that he was having a panic attack, and EMTs and EMS rush into the courthouse. We don't know for sure that it was for him. And Lindsay was having a really hard time as well. But how careful does she have to be the witness is off the stand now, but in directing, questioning him?
She has to be really careful. Again, and one of the criticisms I would have is that there's kind of a lack of empathy or sympathy that I'm getting that she has towards Patrick Clancy. Mm-hmm. One of the things that makes him such an incredibly credible witness on behalf of the defendant is, first of all, Jennifer Sprague called him because she has to, right? We've got to remember she still has to prove the murder before we even get into the mental health part of it. She has to prove all of the elements of first-degree murder, that it was an deliberately premeditated, unlawful killing with malice. So she has to put him in. And he's really the only percipient front-row witness to everything that transpired. Kevin was able to make it his witness, right, on cross-examination to pull out and extract exactly the type of mother that Lindsay Clancy was. But he's credible because he went off and got married. This is a woman that took the life of his 3 children, and he's back there. And I think that it's fairly obvious he's back there to support her. And what does that say to me? That he knows the real Lindsay Clancy. He knows the Lindsay Clancy that he married, that gave birth to those 3 children. would have fought and would have given her own life for those 3 children. He knows that in that brief moment of time, that wasn't LIndsay Clancy that killed those 3 children. That was a shell of herself, again, that was suffering from a serious, serious mental disease or defect.
Yeah, I talked about this during the trial today. It's such a small world. My wife got a message from a friend. I don't even know all the details because I haven't been home yet. But long story short, this friend knows LIndsay Clancy so well that she was in her wedding party and said she could have been any one of us, was an unbelievable mother. And this person 100% is convinced that this is a psychotic episode because she knew her prior to all this and was by all accounts an amazing mother. I'm trying to get more information and hopefully get them on STS if they want to come on. But you see, go ahead.
Just one point to that, right? If Patrick had gotten on there and talked about, she was a negligent mother, she was a physically abusive mother, if those were the type of anecdotes we were hearing, she'd be in some serious trouble right now. But she wasn't. She was a great mother. She did, with the resources and the faculty she had, she did everything she could. But in my mind, the mental illness at the 11th hour, it won. And she couldn't.
And I think part of what the audience and public is sort of reacting to, and again, not understanding the full extent of their relationship, his participation in the child rearing and kind of chores at home, et cetera. But I think it's reflective of the huge load on women around child rearing, taking care of the house, cooking, cleaning, and what sounds like a traditional relationship that they had in the midst of a psychotic episode. And frankly, I think, she needed more support that she did not have.
Yeah. Look, it was like, I don't know, 1 a.m. last night, and we're done with the show. We're done with trial coverage. And the COE is literally like organizing things in the bathroom after taking the 3 kids to soccer practice and dance and summer camp. And it's a disproportionate amount of work that the women do compared to the men. The men complain. I complain a lot more, so I'm a lot better at that and whining about it. But and I'm not saying this for Brownie. COE is not even listening right now. She's at soccer, but I really don't know. As a father of 3 relatively young children, 12, 10, and 7, just in a normal and quote unquote normal, and it's anything but.
Right,
but
right. Not having a mood episode, not being ill in this way, where you're seeking treatment like every day. Some of the meetings she had with prescribers was 3 days in a row. I mean, this reeks of desperation.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say it's difficult enough under perfect circumstances, and then you do this. And Patrick Clancy, God bless him, he said he never even knew what psychosis was till this.
That's part of the problem.
Yeah,
the couple should be educated together, and he should have been at every appointment. He should have information about, hey, let's not leave LIndsay alone for a period of 6 months until she's sleeping, until she's feeling better.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Not the onus, but I mean, husbands. It seems like he was overwhelmed. He didn't know what to do. Essentially, he was being supportive in the way that he knew to be supportive. But and I'll just read this comment because I think this is interesting, and we'll circle back real quick. In the deepest depressions of my life, thank you for sharing this, Danny Causey. Yep. No one would ever have known. I learned to adapt, to be able to work, socialize. People really are good at hiding what's going on.
Women especially are great at masking.
Yeah. So that, but also just going back to the husband issue, I think this guy was trying to be a supportive husband and maybe didn't know how to do that. And
But supportive in the way, hey, LIndsay, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Right. Still burdening her with how he can be helpful, which is what I think what a lot of fathers do, instead of just go and be helpful.
Oh my goodness. I think that's being a little hard on him. How can I be helpful? She's saying, no, you're still burdening her with asking. So she's saying the man needs to take the initiative. But again, that's a risky thing to say, because what if he takes the initiative in the wrong way because he doesn't know? So I don't know about that. I think she's being slightly unfair with that. But what do you think?
Initiate
so-
work, right? Initiate childcare. Initiate taking the kids to camp.
I try to do some of that, Joe Krause. I'd take my kid to soccer. I'd do the Ubering.
But do you ask your wife if you should take them to soccer?
Probably.
Sarah, I'll get your number. We'll get on a text thread, and I will clear everything with Dr. Orrick before I move forward. Now, a little bit of STS news, and Tim was going to come on, but he said, "Look, I don't want to be the news of your show," and he also had a dinner with an elderly family member who eats prior to 5. But Tim was asked to leave court today. Tim is an attorney.
All right. I think it's a good place to pause for now because it's getting late here on the East Coast. But Dana, if you're still here, thank you for suggesting that. I will be inviting her on the show. Nanny Goat, I will be also talking to Dr. Siobhan Scott to get her on the show. This seems like a good opportunity to talk to Dr. Siobhan Scott as well about this case. Maybe even some Nancy Guthrie we can talk about too. But I don't know. I get what she's saying, Dr. Orrick, about burdening her with asking for help, but I think that's a high standard. The high standard, like, especially when the man doesn't know. Like, if you don't know anything about postpartum psychosis or mental health, like you taking initiative as the man at that point, you might make it worse. And so it's kind of like he's presuming she's the expert on herself. But unfortunately, this is a case where no, she wasn't. She wasn't necessarily the expert on herself because the postpartum psychosis got in the way. But that's where it's up to the professionals to know. So if you're Patrick, the way to take initiative might have been to, like, I don't know, talk to the professionals about it. But in this case, it just didn't seem like the professionals knew. So, it is what it is. Indeed, Bella. Indeed. Yes, thank you for that, Dana. So Dana and Bella. Good to see Bella back in the chat, by the way. We haven't seen Bella in here around these parts for a while. We missed our resident surgical nurse. B. We're glad to see B popping back in again. Janine, Autumn, George. George holding down the fort. I love to see it. Wendy, Teresa, Miss Amanda, Chatty Kathy, Jackie, if you're still here, have a great night as well. Maybe Bethany might be asleep by now, but have a great night. Atlanta, great to see you too. Jermaine, good to see you here as well. Nanny Goat, can't forget Nanny Goat. D, thanks for being here, D. Yeah, he tried then, Miss Amanda, right? He tried. He tried. Yes, poor Savannah. I mean, Nancy, phew, gone, baby, gone. So, all right, folks. Shadow and I wish you all a great night. Thanks for staying with us because we did start late this evening. But it was great to talk to you all. Make sure you like the video on the way out if you didn't already. If you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed. I usually go live 5 or 6 nights a week. We talk about true crime and current events. I also interview people, and I put up some shorts and posts. Keep your eyes out for them. And we have a great community of black sheep here. A flock of black sheep, as I call them. Have a great night, Teresa, as well. Oh boy, shooting in Nancy's neighborhood. That's terrible. But all right, folks. Have a great night. Till next time.